Howdy.
Kubiak. Jones. Day. Rodiker. Humble. Golden. Shelton. Flores. Luna. Dewberry.
Howdy.
Gill. Blackman.
Howdy.
Loving.
Howdy.
Strother.
Howdy.
Cantwell.
Howdy.
Rao.
Howdy.
Carter. Dean. Oh wait, Carter. Dean.
Howdy.
McNair. Carlson.
Howdy.
Collins.
Howdy.
Dupuy. Giles.
Howdy.
Finney. Statham.
Howdy.
Brian Brown.
Howdy.
Hood.
Howdy.
Hemphill.
Howdy.
Luce. Miller.
Howdy.
Ives.
Howdy.
Murtha.
Howdy.
Parks. Mendoza.
Howdy.
Rusty.
Howdy.
Cuevas. Greer. Patel. Polakaitis.
Howdy.
Adiemi.
Howdy.
All right.
We'll have the invocation and pledge of allegiance given by Senator Boswell.
We all get please bow your heads. God, please give us strength to help us improve Texas A&M and the student life here at Texas A&M University in this very Senate chamber. For each of us, we've been elected to be representatives of each of our own caucus, whether it's from off campus or through the individual colleges. I want us to have strength and be able to put forth the best agenda and improve A&M at its own heart and core with its own special traditions, and through it all, hopefully strengthen Texas A&M for the better. In your name we pray. Amen.
Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible.
We'll now have the mission statement and ID honor read by Senator.
The Texas A&M Student Senate represents all students in order to enhance Texas A&M experience within our university and communities through research, legislation, and advocacy in accordance with the core values of our institution. NAGI does not lie, cheat, or steal, nor tolerate those who do.
Thank you, Senator Jones. We'll now move into open forum, starting with Senator Lander. Are you International Studies?
Yes.
International Studies major, talking about the Wiley Lecture Series, class of 2017.
All right, howdy. I just real quick want to announce Wiley Lecture Series next week. We have our main program. It is on a Wednesday at 7 p.m. So if you're in the 68th session, you won't be able to go, unfortunately. But even if you can't go, please invite all your friends. It'll be David Axelrod, who's former advisor to President Obama, as well as Eric. Right. As well as Ari Fleischer, a former press secretary for President George W. Bush. Moderated by Roland Martin. He's a journalist and he's a former student here. So it should be a really great program. It's titled Guiding Those Who Govern. So if you're able to make it, please come. If you're not able to make it, please let all your friends know. Thank you.
Senator Boswell.
Senator Boswell, Geosciences, where will this be located again? Sorry.
Oh, yes, sorry. It'll be in Rudder Theater. If you want to buy tickets, go to the MSC box office. They're $5 for students and $25 for non-students.
Are there any other questions for Senator Lander? Seeing none, thank you. Now hear from Hannah Wimberly, a psych major, talking about the SGA banquet and class of 2017.
Well, howdy, Senate.
Howdy.
I'm Hannah Wimberly. I'm on exec, and I'm here to talk to y'all tonight about the SGA banquet. The banquet is coming up. It will be a few Mondays from now, April 27th at 6 p.m. in the Bethencourt Ballroom, and all of y'all are invited. You should have gotten in your email a link to RSVP to the event. If you plan on coming, please RSVP. We only have room for 300 people. With that being said, there's a lot more members of SGA than we can allow there, so if you want to go, RSVP sooner rather than later. A big part of the banquet is going to be the presentation of SGA awards, which are really cool. And there's a lot of you, even in this room, that are totally eligible to be nominated or know people that can be nominated. That link is also in your email. And those nominations are due April 12th, so this Sunday at 5 p.m. Please, please, please nominate people. We haven't gotten enough nominations for the awards, and there are so many deserving people. And also, if it's any incentive, I just authorized the payment of $2,500 worth of Fuego and 7 pounds of beef. So if that's just enough reason for you to come, I think it's a good one. So thank you.
Are there any questions for Ms. Wimberly? Seeing none, thank you. We will now deviate from the agenda due to having a vacant officer position due to a resignation. So I will open the floor for nominations.
Point of order,
Yes.
Chair Sonk, Academic Affairs, the position is not vacant until 8 p.m. tonight, which is 40
You resign.
Okay.
I will now open the floor for nominations
Point
for
of
student
information.
services chair. Yes.
Is it not customary for Senate to announce a vacancy for an officer position at the time?
It's been a few hours.
Point of,
Under a few hours ago, to be specific.
point of, right,
Yes.
was an email sent out to the members of the Senate so that people would be aware that there was an election taking place?
Personally, I was in class / getting ready for the meeting and received the email on my way to go to this meeting. So it was given to both the meeting and Speaker Pro Tem. So due to the fact that the officer has known that he was going to vacate the position for 3 days, I would put that on him rather than necessarily waiting to the last minute to send out an email to me. So by bylaws, we have to fill the position. Anybody has a problem with that? Technically, it says point blank that if the position is open, and we have to fill it by the next available meeting, and that would be today. And so I can't do anything about the fact that he chose to resign, even though we contacted him 3 days ago, letting him know the situation and him choosing to do that at the last minute.
Point of parliamentary procedure.
Yes.
Would it be in order to postpone the election of this position until the next Senate meeting?
I would say that the bylaws trump Robert's rules in this particular position. I do believe we have a candidate who is prepared for the election. Yes.
Chairman's rules and regulations, we could postpone it till the end of the meeting, but it has to happen this week.
So,
Point of information.
yes.
How were you aware that that there's a candidate that has a presentation ready for tonight's meeting?
That person happened to be informed through a source that I'm not completely sure of and happened to know how to resign. So, we originally planned on, if that individual did not, at the IA meeting, we discussed, if that individual did not resign, his position would become vacant at 8 p.m. If for whatever reason we were not prepared for that or the meeting expired before then, we would have appointed an interim to be filled for the next meeting and then send out an email to everybody saying, here's the situation. But due to unforeseen circumstances and a lack of communication in a responsible manner, we are now at this juncture. So I am all in favor of postponing it till the end of the meeting if that feels like people would have time to prepare. I'd be happy to do a vote if that's what we want to do. For a motion to move that to the end for preparation, but in this unforeseen circumstance, we have to do it this meeting. Whether that's now or at the end, I personally do not have to. So a motion for that to postpone till the end would be in order.
I have a motion to postpone the consideration of the student services officer until the very last item of the agenda.
After executive reports. Okay. There are seconds. All in
Point
favor?
of information here.
Yes.
Is this motion debatable?
Postpone, I don't.
It is.
Oh, it is. Okay. All right. So, we have a second. So that motion will be heard. I will now accept debate against the motion. So debate against, I saw Mayor Roberts. 2.5, unless we're rules and regulations. Chair.
Point of information,
Yes.
Senator Dean off campus, is there now not 2 people prepared for a presentation?
I personally am not aware of another individual.
Go ahead.
You have 2.5.
Howdy, Senate. I just wanted to talk here briefly. Look, this is something we have to take care of. Let's stop procrastinating. Let's do it. They'll give enough time for whoever gets elected to prepare for their speech and being for mayor of board and where they're going to meet. Basically, let's not put it off. Let's do it right now. We can get to the bills a little bit later. We only have 4 bills, so let's do it right now. I yield to Senator Wood.
Please stay in order, it's too loud.
All right, howdy, Senate.
Howdy.
Let's just get this over with. We should get a student services chair election because we have bills stuck in there and we need a student services chair, and there's no point in waiting any longer. We have 2 people running, not 1, and they deserve our time at the beginning of the meeting because they're both prepared. So let's just go ahead and do this and not postpone it anymore. And I yield to
Is there any debate for the motion? Any debate for? If not, I will deem debate one-sided, and we'll move into a period of voting on the motion to postpone to the end of the meeting. All in favor of postponing this particular item to the end of the meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay.
Nay.
That fails. Okay, so we will go ahead and move into the emergency SS election. As always, same rules will apply. You'll have 10 minutes for presentation. If for some reason you happen to have a character witness, you'll get 5, and there'll be a 5-minute period questioning this time. So, good luck, and I will open the floor for nominations now. The floor has been open for nominations. Oh, can't walk.
Senator Cantwell off campus, I move to nominate Trey Miller.
Motion has been made to nominate Trey Miller for SS Chair. Is there a second? There have been seconds. Trey Miller, do you accept the motion?
I do.
Oh, I didn't know. Great. Are there any other nominations on the floor? Yes, Senator Dean.
Senator Dean off campus, I nominate Zach Carlson.
Motion has been made to nominate Zach Carlson. There are multiple seconds. Mr. Carlson, do you accept?
I do.
All right. Are there any other nominations for SS Chair on the floor? Any other? Any other nominations? I'll close the floor for nominations. So, seeing that Mr. Miller, you were nominated first, Mr. Carlson, you could exit the room. We will move forward with the procedure. If you have a presentation, if you could send that to Brandon as soon as possible. As well as if you have a presentation, you could send that.
Howdy, Senate.
Howdy.
All right, my name is Trey Miller, and I'm running for the Student Services Chair that was just vacated, Joe know. Sorry, y'all. A little bit about me. I'm a finance major from Houston, Texas. It's a great picture, by the way. Anyway, I'm also a member of SIGEP here. That's what Sigma Phi Epsilon is short for. I used to work in the Reliant Trading Center, and that's a little tucked away thing that business school is probably not that many people know about, but it's kind of cool to say that I work there. And I'm also in the investment banking program currently. So, a little history about my family. This is one of my grandfathers who attended A&M. He was class of 57, and he lives in Atlanta, Georgia now. He's a diehard Aggie. He loves that we're in the SEC because he actually gets to see some football and all that business now. And so this is my other grandfather that was the class of 54. That's kind of us with our whole Aggie family. The only ones that actually aren't in that picture that aren't super Aggies are my parents. So, but I love to mess with them about that. But yeah, so he's circled right there. Like I said, I didn't realize really until I came here, but I was super brainwashed as a kid to be Aggie, and I'm super proud that I was. And it's a great thing. So anyway, my experience is I was elected to this session 67th,
and I ended up filling a vacancy in the 66 session. And so in the 66, I was on the Community Relations Committee under Chair Felder. I don't think she's here, but anyway, and then in this session, I was in the Finance Committee under Chair G. And I'm also got reelected in the 68th session, so if those of y'all that are filling vacancies like I did, I'll be seeing y'all for a little bit longer. And as I said earlier, I'm a member of 605 Salon, and I'm currently serving as their president. So, kind of to let y'all know, the way student services kind of is right now, I kind of looked into it as I found out about this, and from what I understand, they've only had 2 meetings this semester, and there's currently 5 bills in the committee at the moment. So their last committee meeting was February 15th. We may have to do something with the resolution. I'm not really sure what the whole story behind that is. But the 5 bills that are on there, one of them is the Green Campus Bill. This was a bill that was put forward after construction in the quad, I believe, was covering, it was taking out the green area, right? So I'm not real big on the history of the quad, I'm sorry guys, but that one's in there to make sure that stuff like that doesn't happen, because I understand that the core guys here could probably attest to that y'all are pretty upset about that. So that's in there to kind of help students to make sure that we preserve our greenery, if you will. In addition to that, the Student Counseling Service Bill is currently in committee. I think that's a good one. That's probably one of our best things I think about A&M is the student counseling services. It's free to all students. You go up there and set things. I think this was to improve that, kind of do a quality control check and make sure they put a little more emphasis on ADHD treatment. And so that's another good thing that's in there right now. The student golfing bill is in there right now. That's to bring back memberships in the golf course. So, like I said, I think obviously whenever we built a big golf course, the pricing spikes, and there's not a lot we can do about that, which also is in that bill to try to fight. In addition to that, this is, like I said, currently you can't buy a student membership, is what I understand. So this is one of the issues that's put up there to address that, is bringing that memberships at least. There's also the Penrose parking bill. This is to add some more 2-hour parking slots around the parking lots around Penrose Field, kind of alleviate the traffic jam that happens there with the field. So, and then finally, the Student Health Center Advocacy Bill, which is to kind of alleviate the pressure that is going on with the field and how it's kind of really packed. Y'all think we're trying to make your point down now, it gets kind of hard to do. So those are kind of the bills. What I really want to do is really simple. I want to get some meetings done while we have all of 3 weeks left of the session. Get these bills through committee, or if they don't deserve to get through committee, vice versa. And also address any additional bills that come up in this meeting, the next one. I don't think we'll be able to do anything in joint sessions, but yeah, so that's kind of my vision right there, real short and sweet. So I'll open it up to questions if anybody else.
We'll start with recognitions or questions from Senator Dean.
Senator Dean off campus. Can you tell the body, and maybe not, how you found out about
I'm not trying to stir up controversy or anything. I'm really unfortunate. Sorry that this happened. Aaron Mitchell told me that this was a possibility and he thought I was qualified. And so I just started preparing for it. I don't know if that's against any parliamentary procedures. I'm really not trying to step on anybody's feet. I just kind of went into it and looked at it once I heard about the opportunity and thought it was a good chance to get these bills through. So, yeah.
Martha.
Withdrawal.
So,
Withdrawn.
Are there any other questions for Mr. Miller? Seeing none, thank you. And do you have a character witness?
I do actually. Mr. Austin.
You get it.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, I tried.
Copy rolling down.
You get mine.
Howdy folks, for those of y'all who don't know me, my name is Austin Campbell and I'm an off-campus senator. I've been a member of Senate. Well, I filled the vacancy in the 65th and I've been here ever since. Somehow I've managed to stay. So, let's talk about Trey Miller for a second. I've had the opportunity to know Trey since my freshman year. So, we've known each other for 3 years now. And I've had the opportunity to work with him for 2 years on an exec board with a fraternity of close to 120 members. And I think he's done a fantastic job managing that many people, and I think he's really, really intelligent, and I believe that he knows what he's doing when it comes to holding meetings, and I think he has the ability to get these bills through their committee meetings and get them to the floor so we can vote on them. And I really don't know what else to say. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Room, if we could send in. It's a minute.
Well, howdy, Senate.
Howdy.
Zach Carlson, I'm an off-campus student senator. I was not aware of the resignations, so bear with me a little bit if this doesn't seem completely prepared. But a little bit about me. I'm from Flower Mound, Texas, went to Marcus High School. I am a marketing major, business honors, the certificate in sales and sports management. I want to go into technology sales, currently serving as the treasurer in the class of 2016, as well as an off-campus student senator. I used to work for Texas A&M Transportation, former employee. I was in the parking department, so we dealt with a lot of parking issues, things like that. Got to know a lot of administration in that department. Now I work for Pebble Creek Country Club. My SGA experience, I began SGA my sophomore year as a member of COSGA. Fell in love with how awesome SGA is, the entire student government. And so I ran for Senate in '67. I'm currently serving as off-campus senator, like I said, and I'm in the Student Services Committee. So that's why this position is very important to me, because I want the committee to continue the consistency that it's had. I've also been elected to the 68th Senate as the Mays Business School Senator, and I've already been elected as the Student Services Chair for next session. So with that, and I think that running through this right now just really makes the transition a lot easier. Instead of having to transition once now and then again in 2 weeks, it just simplifies the whole process. And I can begin my preparations for next year and start some of the ideas that I have for next year a little bit early. Also on here, I got to work with Michael Murtha on the United Murtha campaign team. And so that's given me a chance to get to know a little bit about how the executive branch works. And so I've been able to kind of build relationships with some of the members of the executive branch. So hopefully get more things happening, get more things done in Senate, and be able to accomplish more next year. Some of the relations I have, like I said, Debbie Hoffman and Therese Kuchera are both people I've got to know while working for Texas A&M Parking. Debbie is the Associate Director of Transportation, so she deals with a lot of things. Parking is one of the things under her umbrella, but she's a good relationship to have just because whenever we do have a bill, she's the person easy to contact. Therese, she was my direct supervisor. Her role, basically, if any students at Texas A&M have any questions, comments, concerns about parking, her department is who handles it. So whether it's Senate and we want to write a bill specific about parking or get anything done, it's going to go to her department and that's going to be handled. Courtney Bryant, she is the Director of Marketing for Charwells. And I got a chance to get to know her when I wrote the Let the Aggies Eat bill, which extended the hours of Ag Cafe. And what's unique about that bill is it's one of the bills that administration was actually really excited about, and it's actually been implemented. So I don't know if you've noticed on West Campus, but the hours of Ag Cafe have been extended by 2 hours. And so Courtney Bryant played a big part in making that happen. And, so that's something that's really beneficial. And then Dennis Quarton, he is the Director of Rec Sports. I've been working with him and Renee Rangel, the CEO of Sterling Golf. And I wrote a bill, the student golfing bill, which is currently in the Student Services Committee. It's been sitting in committee for several weeks because of this, the issue that we've had with our previous Student Services Chair, and now he's eventually resigned. So, I really want to make sure that the committee doesn't change. The meetings stay the same. Like I said, I've been in the Student Services Committee for the past year. I have a bill in the committee that I want to make sure it's implemented. And so these guys are all for the bill. I'll talk a little bit more about that when the bill eventually makes it to the Senate floor, hopefully after we finally have an SS meeting, and talk about how administration is all for that. And then Jerry Strauser, VP of Finance and Administration. I have a personal relationship with him, and so he's just a great person to have. I know he's sometimes, had a little dissension with some of the people in here, but he's a great guy, and I have a great relationship with him. And so this kind of is my plan for next year in student services. A lot of these ideas I'm not going to be able to implement in the 2 or 3 weeks left in the 67th session, but electing me as student services chair now will just give me a head start to start preparing for the upcoming session and implementing some of the things that I have planned. The first thing is the subcommittee restructuring. I'll talk a little bit more about each of these in a second. Maintaining proportional growth and improving cohesiveness, both with the executive cabinet and with the administration. So subcommittees. Currently in student services, the bylaws mandate that the student services chair appoint subcommittee chairs as needed. And right now we have the subcommittee chairs, but I think you can ask anyone in student services, either of the subcommittee chairs, I don't see their parts in here, but they're out there. They don't do anything. They attend one meeting occasionally, and that's pretty much it. So the first thing I want to do is actually have a subcommittee within, and again, this is something that's going to be implemented in the 68th, but preparation now would make it easy. So what that means is, and I'm also going to add an initial subcommittee on top of transportation and dining, which we have. And so I'm going to split up the student services committee into subcommittees, and each chair is actually going to have an actual committee. And so when there's a bill having to do with transportation, it's going to go through the transportation subcommittee. The chair of that committee is going to have a relationship with administrators in transportation. Same goes for dining. And then the third one I want to implement is the student life subcommittee. And basically what that is another subcommittee just dealing with anything from rec to housing to campus safety and things like that. And so with these subcommittees, I think it's going to be much easier to get things through Senate. Not only will the chair have a relationship with administration, but each of the subcommittee chairs will also have a relationship with administration. And so if any of you in here has a bill that wants to go to transportation, you'll know who to talk to. The transportation subcommittee would be the first place to go. And if you come to the student services chair myself, I can point you in that direction and be more than happy to help you with that. But I think this is a great job of kind of developing senators and letting them get that relationship with administration. And it's not just the officers of Senate that are the ones talking to administration, but every single one of us in here. And yeah, okay. And the last thing, kind of like I said, just monitor legislation. Just make sure when there is something going through the subcommittee or the committee in general, the subcommittee knows about it, and make sure it's not something that's not going to get passed. And then a couple things, 25 by 25. Just making sure that student services is represented, proportional growth in that. If we're going to add 15,000 engineering students, we need the dining, transportation, and other things to accommodate for that. In addition to that, next year they're renovating the quad and moving the core over to the commons, and so just want to make sure that the dining and things over there are handled properly, and the core and other students living on that part of campus get the fair treatment, whether that be dining dollars in the food trucks that are going to be there, or good quality food in the food trucks there. And then lastly, they're building 15 parking garages over the next, 5 parking garages over the next 15 years. So I just want to make sure that they don't astronomically raise the rate of parking. They've already agreed that they're going to, starting next year, it'll go up 3% a year, and I just want to maintain that. Make sure that administration doesn't increase from that 3% they've already agreed to. And lastly, cohesiveness, both with administration and the executive cabinet. I want to work with Casey Crom and that whole executive cabinet right now, and then as well as whoever SVP Benigno appoints for the executive cabinet next year. Let's have a good relationship, making sure things we do in the Senate actually make it to the executive branch, and then have a relationship with administration, making sure it actually happens on campus. Because that's the biggest thing. We do things in this room all the time. We want to make sure it actually has an impact on the students. We want the students to know what we're doing, why we're doing it, and how we're impacting them. So with that, I yield the remainder of my time, I guess, to question and answers.
We'll start with recognition for questions from Chair Sosa.
Chair Sosa, CA. Well, I didn't know that there was a contested race coming up, but in fairness, I do want to ask, how do you become aware that this position was coming up for vacancy tonight?
Thank you for that question. I found out about it a few moments before this meeting happened, just by word of mouth throughout this room. And luckily, I had this presentation from when I prepared to run last week for the 68th session. And so I just kind of sent it in real quickly, but I just found out by word of mouth about 20 minutes ago.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions for? Senator?
Do you have any bills currently in SS written by yourself?
Yes, like I said, the student golfing bill, which is a bill allowing us to golf student membership. And with that bill, I have spoken with administration, Renee Rangel and Dennis Gorrington, and they are all for the bill. I'll talk a little bit more about that, like I said, when the bill actually comes to the floor, if it ever makes it through SS, which as SS chair, I'm hoping to make that happen. And basically with that bill, the administration's all for it, and so that's something that looks like it's gonna happen if we can ever get that bill out of committee.
Are there any other questions, Mr. Carlson? Seeing none, we'll move into your character witness. Do you have one?
Senator Murphy.
All right, howdy.
Howdy.
So forgive me, I'm gonna use my laptop because I wrote this speech back for the 68th when he was getting elected, and I've slept since then, so it's kind of got out of my head. But I think that what we have right now is a no-brainer. We should progress Senate and prepare for the next year. We only have 3 more weeks, and we have someone that's currently in student services and has written bills in there, and we need to let him prepare himself for the 68th as well as finish out the 67. I met Zach at Fish Camp way back freshman year, and we were actually playing volleyball against each other. I knew right away he was a high school hero because he was diving, dodging everywhere, trying to win that game, and I knew right away that he was going to be determined. Well then, I get to A&M and I get in the fish council, and standing there in what looked like a Catwoman suit was Zach Carlson. We were supposed to dress up, so he had at least a little bit of an excuse, but still really weird. As we moved on, then I found out class council does this thing and puts freshmen in Ohana's, which if you don't know Hawaiian terms, that's family. So without any choice, Zach was immediately my family. But I eventually, very quickly, became best friends with him, and I actually live with him now. And I've seen how great of a man he really is. My sophomore year, when I decided to run for Senate, he was actually running a campaign for class president, and on top of that, helped run my campaign as well as Senator Dean and Senator Valdez. He did everything for us. He passed out flyers, helped with social media. He's a selfless servant, and he deserves this role. Beyond that, I moved in with him, and he's the kind of guy that will give you the time of day, regardless of what's occurring. I mean, if I have problems with my girlfriend, I run straight to Zach, because he's gonna listen no matter what's happening. If I need to be picked up from Northgate in the middle of the night, who do I call? Zach. Because he's gonna wake up no matter what, and he's gonna pick me up. I was on a roll, okay? He's just a loyal guy. So from August, when I knew I was gonna run for SVP, he let me turn my house, our house, into campaign headquarters. And he basically never got any rest because no matter what was happening, people were over at my house. So he needs to be student services chair because he's selfless. He's determined. He's currently in it. He has bills in it, and it would just be the right thing to do to let him prepare himself. Let's see. He's written multiple bills, like the Agazine bill, the student golf bill, the bonfire remembrance bill. He's had many different areas of experience in leading teams, from COSGA, being the treasurer of the class of 2016, a Fish Camp counselor. As you saw that extensive list of names, he knows the administration, he works well with them, and he can make bills become enacted. He has a great ideas for the 68th, and I think we should let him get himself prepared for that. So I don't really want to keep going on. I think that this is very much an easy vote. Let's do what's right for Senate and let our chair for the 68th get prepared for it. So that's it.
Okay, so we will now move into a period of debate. 1 is recognition for Senator Miller. 2 is recognition for Senator Carlson. So I'll start with 1. We'll start with Trey.
Chair Mitchell, rules and regulations. Well, howdy, Senate.
Howdy.
I'm not coming down here necessarily to debate for one candidate or another, but simply to clear this idea that there's some kind of underhanded dealing between myself and Trey Miller. So the way he found out was on Tuesday, he contacted me, and he's running for an officer position in the 68, and he asked for help with his presentation. And so, as with anyone who would contact me asking for help with the presentation, I agreed. I met with him, and while we're meeting, I told him that there may be a vacancy in the 67 session for student services chair. He said he was interested and wanted to run for that. Now, it's not my job to communicate as rules and regulations chair to the body if there's going to be an officer meeting, and it certainly should have been, an officer vacancy, and certainly should have been communicated. Additionally, some of the senators, particularly one of the senators that is asking all these questions was not at IA, and he is an officer. So I don't know how you can blame, all I'm saying is simply make this decision based on the merits of the candidate. Okay, don't try to, there's nothing shady going on. It should have been communicated. It wasn't communicated. And that's all I've got to say. I was helping him like I would help anyone in 68. With that, I yield to the floor.
Start with our commission for Carlson with Simpson.
Hi. Just make clear that the reason I was not at IA was because as a Catholic, I was observing Easter Monday. But regardless of what happened at IA, guys, you should not have a Senate membership that is unaware that an officer election is about to come up 5 minutes or during the Senate meeting. That is something that has never happened before. I'm not going to say the number of years I've been here. But really, guys, we need to give the membership time to decide when we're going to have to prepare a presentation. I was not aware that we had 2 candidates for debate tonight. That was my main concern, that we had one candidate that was at the advantage of being aware that there was an election coming up. And now that we have 2, I think the body can make a better decision. And the better decision, I think, is Zach Carlson. He's currently in IA. He's been involved in the legislation that's going on there. He will be prepared to close out student services as it is now. How you open up as an officer in the next session is irrelevant to this session. Right now, we have to worry about how we're going to close out the 67th session. And when we have someone that's running from within the committee who has been involved, probably more than the opponent, then we ought to consider and vote for the guy that is coming up from that position, that is Zach Carlson, and I yield to Senator Dean.
Senator Dean, off campus, how much time do I have? Minute? Okay, cool. So a very good point was made that we should nominate or we should vote on these candidates based off merit. And I think a very strong point here is that even though it may not matter in the next session, A, the strength of change, and B, the passion the candidate has. If any candidate was really interested in running for student services, they would have done so for the 68. Both candidates are members of that. So I would have to think then that the candidate that's most passionate about it would be the candidate that's already being elected for the next session. And that's why we should vote for Carlson, because A, he's had legislation passed through Senate for student services, and B, he generally cares about student services. He's worked in the last year, and he wants to continue to do that. And I think that we should allow him to do that just based off the merit that's been discussed tonight. And with that, I yield to the floor.
The recognition for debate for Senator Miller. Seeing none, then debate will end up being one-sided since we're not following that up anymore. And we'll move to a period of voting and we'll hand out ballots.
Gracias.
No problem.
Oh, really?
If you were doing.
Does that
Fast enough.
Trey Miller is at Charleston. Hey, what do you know?
Who has not received all of it?
Who can collect these? Manual collecting? No, it's gonna be. Oh, Brandon just left already. Yeah, I know.
Does everybody have one? Can you not pick it up?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, I'm not supposed to see it.
Oh. You're a good man, Marino.
Oh, okay.
You're a good man, Marino. Yes, you just didn't know. See what? You know, see these. Do you need this? Okay, folders.
Any more? We can get everybody back in the room, please, in your seats and in order. Please come to order and get to your seat. Come to order. Third time. Before I announce the vote, I just want to make it very clear that this is important. If you want to abstain, by all means, put abstain. But if you write in somebody who's not a candidate, that personally frustrates me. To hear higher than me. So please take this seriously, despite the lack of notice. So I don't want to be unnecessarily angry. Okay, so anyway, with the vote of 33 to 5 to 2 abstentions to 1, God knows what, Zach Carlson is the new SSJ. You'll raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Zach Carlson,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to faithfully execute to the best of my ability
to faithfully execute to the best of my ability
the duties of the office of
the duties of the office of
Student Services Chair
Student Services Chair
for the Texas A&M University Student Government Association,
for the Texas A&M University Student Government Association,
to uphold the honor of the same
to uphold the honor of the same
at all times, to protect the welfare of the student body
at all times, to protect the welfare of the student body,
and to promote good relations between
and to promote good relations between
the students and those concerned with the university.
the students and those concerned with the university.
Okay, so we are going to move on.
Yeah, right.
Come to order. We're going to start with SB 6780 for the state of Cul-de-sac. Bill Preserve, please come forward on 10 minutes, starting at.
Yes.
Hold on, what's your last bill?
All right, howdy, Senate.
So this took a little while to get through RR because I apparently don't know how to write an act. Sorry about that. There were some things that we had to do to make sure that it would fit well in the code and things like that. But basically a reminder of what this is. We wanted to work with our constituents to better serve them and better inform them. Senator Dean and myself, we put out a survey that showed that they didn't feel like they knew what we did, and they didn't feel like the SPP emails were enough. And some recommendations on there included making a video. We think that people will want to watch a video much more than they would want to read just another email. So this will be a video that happens once a month, the first Monday of the month. The reason that we chose that day, it's not explicitly stated in there, but it's something that the SVP and speaker can do, is they can mention that Silver Taps is coming the next day. So that was kind of one of our reasons for choosing that specific day. It will be a video that basically talks about the bills that have passed and have failed, and it will be up to the SVP and speaker to determine which bills they want to talk about that they think have merit to the student body. It will also focus on things that the SVP has been doing behind the scenes, so they can know what their student body president and the executive cabinet have been doing, as well as focus on any judicial court cases if those actually come up besides elections. Are there anything that y'all want to add to this? I know that y'all had to do a lot of changes. So anything else?
You want me to go through?
Yeah, you can go through it. Y'all had to change a lot.
But basically, we just wrote it into code. He had like bullet points, like saying what he wanted, so we wrote it into code, and we basically just said we want better transparency. Stakeholders act shall refer to a high quality professional video of the student body president, speaker of the Senate shall inform the student body about recent initiatives and progress being made by the Student Government Association. First Monday of each month during the fall and spring semesters. Pass and fail bills have to be enacted.
Yes,
If there's a
We have one right now.
I don't believe we do. Can y'all stop me?
man.
One.
This would be great.
We're like four short.
I'm just gonna keep talking.
Yeah.
If there's a J-Court case, that'll be in there too. And it just says it's the ability of the speaker and the SPP to enforce this. It also says you can't use student fee money to make a video, so.
We are too short of form.
We're getting one now.
We do. We got people. Okay, everybody's here. All right, continue.
Anything else? Okay, well, that's it. So, yeah. That's it.
Is that it?
Yeah.
We'll move to questions and then do a recount before we go, because that's the most important part. So, questions. Are there any questions? Hey, stay in order. Are there any questions for the bill presenters? Please raise your placard high because there's a ton of them on 5-2 and I can't see you. All right, seeing none, thanks. If y'all can have a seat, we'll go into debate. That way I can do a proper head count with y'all see. Hopefully now we're even more. We are too short as well.
There's Clayton's right there.
Nope, okay, not,
Two
okay.
more just walked out.
No, he's not gonna be here though.
They need to go.
Well, we should pass all of them, it shouldn't be a problem, so. Still have one.
That's something for your our chair.
All right, we're good. Now that he walks in. Okay, so we will move forward with debate. I'll start with recognition for debate and against the bill?
You don't call it.
Just be here. Just give us what's-
Don't call quorum.
I think he's calling court.
Or just be here. Or the speaker is going to run the meeting with the correct rules. If there's not quorum, I'll call it myself. All right, is there any debate against? Is there any debate against? Seeing none, debate is one-sided. We'll move into a period of voting. All in favor of passing SB 6784, the State of Polis Act, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say nay. Unanimous. All right, so if there is quorum, we will go ahead and move into SB 6783, the reconstruction of the Texas 10% bill. The bill presenter would come forward.
Wow, is that it?
Howdy.
So last time that I presented this bill, which was 3 weeks ago, pretty much I stated that for one, we had this, obviously the thing is 10%, which obviously is kind of unfair because if you're automatically in the top 10% of your high school, pretty much you can guarantee admission to almost every public university here in Texas. That's kind of unfair because primarily, the primary reason is because one, if you're from a big, very academically prestigious high school, it'd be a lot tougher for you to get into, say, Texas A&M or, University of Houston or even Texas Tech, compared to, I know I have to say that just for the heck of it. But compared to our, other high schools that aren't as prestigious, a little bit smaller, and of course, that'd be for them to have more of an opportunity and a chance to get into there without really proving themselves. So it went to the committee, it passed through there. A lot of the red lines that you see, it's pretty much just a fix grammatic, just fix some, as you can know, I'm not really good with my English, so they fixed it, a lot of it. Other than that, it's pretty much stayed the same. It's pretty much the same wording. As I said, all I want to do is reduce it from 10% to 8%, and if I can scroll, please. Okay, the second part of it is pretty much where I want the state to at least define a minimum SAT or ACT score for the top 8% to pretty much, submit. Because let's admit, even if you are a resident of the state of Texas, it's kind of unfair because we're the only program here in the state of Texas that pretty much just says you don't need an SAT or ACT score. If you want to go to Arkansas, if you want to go to school in Arkansas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, New Mexico, pretty much anywhere else in the United States, you pretty much have to have an SAT, ACT score. So to pretty much hedge your bet on a program like that, it's kind of risky. I mean, granted, I'm from Las Vegas, I kind of like to gamble, but to be honestly, to gamble on your own education and obviously, the education of future Texans, just on that is kind of risky. So other than that, I'm.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Senator Bosworth? Yes, Hood, and then Rose, I'll put you down.
Senator Hood, off campus, do you not think that the SAT and the ACT tests in and of themselves can be a gamble for students who might be on the line?
I mean, this is true. I mean, personally, I don't like SAT or ACT scores, but honestly, for the universities, it's a benchmark just to bring all the students nationally and pretty much just say, hey, yes, you went to a prestigious high school and things like that compared, to the other high school that went to, not as prestigious, is a little bit easier. And, if you could just compare it off of GPAs, it's kind of unfair because one high school program has, other programs that are better than the other high school. And so just to look solely off of GPA, it basically, it's not a good, a set standard because for one, like I said, high school prestige, programs, it depends on the student. So honestly, like I said, no one likes SAT, ACT, but it's the only way to pretty much just say, hey, compared against everyone else, it's pretty much the same set of rules saying, hey, are you good enough pretty much to give you a score? I don't like labeling, but it's pretty much that's the only way to prove it. That and also, your extracurricular activity on your resume, your essays, along with other intangibles. This is just pretty much saying, this is pretty much just trying to level out the playing field for everyone else.
I have a question quick, and then John. Do you know particularly why the administration or Texas A&M as a whole defaults 15% rather than the 987? Like, do you know particularly why?
Particularly because, for one, the University of Texas actually, from their point of standpoint, they wrote a law through their own SGA that pretty much reduced their 10%. Originally, it was 9%. They pretty much wrote a bill stating in a way that effectively put them from 10% to 9%. Now the University of Texas is actually all the way down to 7%. So they have a system from their own SGA, from their goals, to pretty much reduce it from pretty much, taking, the top 1, top 2, top 3. It's kind of like a rolling where they take all the top 1%, then they take all the top 2%. Basically, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get the ball rolling for pretty much saying, hey, I want the same deal that the University of Texas does, but for Texas A&M, because we're just as good and just as better as the University of Texas. And I feel like it's pretty much just here saying, hey, this is our state public institution. Obviously, this is
Jeff.
This individual or it's called nice. So this may not still be in effect, but I know they used to have the qualification for top 25% and you got a minimum 1,300 SAT. Would that be rolled out by this?
I'm not entirely sure just because this is primarily what I've researched and this is just for top 10%. I don't know any other program primarily because a lot of my constituents and even other people that I've known have pretty much complained about top 10%. I wouldn't have, like I said, I didn't know any other program besides the top 10%, so that's really news to me. Like I said, I researched and pretty much how to look for the film first.
Miller.
Senator Miller off campus. I just have a question. I was looking at here. This would be sent to see a state senator or a couple more representatives and the governor.
Yes.
So what, I guess, assuming this is passed, what's the next steps to make sure this doesn't kind of fall on deaf ears and that there's actually action taken to get this done?
Great question. One of the other senators here, obviously Chair Felder, mentioned that it should be sent up to the higher ed at the Capitol Hill. I have an amendment that will basically send this bill to pretty much everybody that's on the higher ed in the House and in the Senate. And I'll make sure that this bill is also being sent to both Chancellor Sharp and our new president, University President Young. Hopefully, with this bill passing, I'm hoping that LR or someone will be able to push and proceed this bill through. If not, I will personally drive to Austin. I've done the drive before. It's a long 2 hours and pretty much debate for this bill. I'm still in uniform. I'll debate this in this uniform for Texas A&M University.
Have you personally or the University LR team talked to these senators and tested the waters to see if they would be open to amending the top 10% to top 8?
I have talked to members of the Senate chamber. I have not personally talked to anyone in the executive cabinet. All I've known and pretty much what I've been trying to do is I've been talking with LA Bear, which is Chair Springer, he's not here. Last I heard, it was like 3 or 4 months ago, they were thinking about putting a bill through, creating one, and for whatever reason, they didn't push anything through. I think primarily because they wanted to get the concealed carry gun, concealed carry passes first.
Marinoff.
Senator Marinoff, Engineering. Are you aware of the minimum score requirements? Although the state sets a minimum requirement, each individual college within a university can override that.
I did not know that. Like I said, I'm an out-of-stater, so primarily what I've heard a lot of times is that for people that are trying to get into their college of their desire, they cannot get into because primarily, for one, a lot of the colleges will immediately admit their top 10% and from there pretty much just slowly take in their admits from there. I know with my college, which is College of Geoscience, when I got in, they didn't really require a SAT, ACT score. Even with the College of Geoscience, all they really, back when I was in the College of Science, all they really cared about was my ACT math score, which was apparently really high.
Thank you.
Quick question for me. Does the University of Texas at Austin, when they got that particular, route and created, did the university in any way have to pay financially to make that happen? Was there any financial deals with the legislature? Was there they said, okay, here we're going to cut this amount of funding because of this, or the university's going to have to put forward this much?
With my knowledge from it, no. I haven't looked into it further, so I'm not entirely sure if the state legislature pretty much said, hey, we're going to take some money away from it. But what I pretty much, with my research, pretty much read is that what they're allowed to do is they're allowed to take all the top 1%, all the top 2%, and it's allowed because technically for them, it's still a binding part of the top 10%. It's just kind of curtailing, who they can admit. So they can, like I said, the reason why I say top 10, top 7% at the University of Texas is they'll all of a sudden, automatically accept their top 7%, but once it gets top 8, they'll actually, it's like, well, they'll start questioning it and probably telling them to say, hey, you should definitely put in, a admissions packet like everyone else. But as far as my research goes, I don't know, and I don't believe so, from what I know.
Collins. Okay, Dean.
Senator Dean, off campus, so University of Texas allows for like fluctuation, like you said, so top 8, top 7, top 8. Does this bill allow for that fluctuation rate?
Currently, no, I pretty much just reduce it from 10% to just 8%. It's just, to be honest, it's a 2%.
15 seconds.
It's a 2% reduction, and to be honest, with that 8%, we're expecting the valedictorians and the salutatorians to be accepted, and obviously those that are in the top 5% to get in Texas A&M. I'm really worried about, students that are kind of on the fence that would probably get into Texas A&M. Compare that to other students that are pretty much just like, well, they're on the fence, but because they're accepted in the top 10%, we're not going to push them academically. We're not going to push them to actually push them to pretty much get into Texas A&M, but just accepted.
All right, and that ends the period of question and answer. We will now move into a period of debate, and I'm going to take it. So.
Oh, big girl, where's Aaron?
Aaron.
Come run the meeting, I'm not good at it.
Oh. Okay, I'll let them start. Do you want to use my phone for not ready? Howdy. Okay, literally the only reason that I'm coming down to talk about this instead of just waiting is that Kyle and I have had the opportunity to be with Dr. Hussey and Dr. Strasser and the provost to talk specifically about this issue with the administration. I personally come from a 1A high school. I had a 4.0 GPA and a high ACT score, but I was in the top quarter. So I wasn't in the top 10% because my class total was 29. I was number 8. So believe me, the 10% rule frustrates me to no end, truly. And in fact, my college essay topic B, when it was the Applied Texas thing, was about how stupid the 10% rule was. So apparently it worked for A&M and it got me here. Not so much for UT. So, TU, my bad. So, problem with this, when I don't have the word ready. The reason why, there are specific reasons why the administration has not progressed with the 9 to 8 to 7 to 8 to 9 particular route. And there are many, many reasons for that. I personally asked Dr. Hussey myself, said, hey, I'm an advocate for this change. As somebody who I believe was qualified to get into the university, why can't this be a thing? If the school down the road can do it, why can't we be matched to them and have the same caliber of standard? And so, in theory, the reason for that is a different applicant pool from Texas to here. And just me trying to remember from a month ago. From what I remember, specifically, putting the 9, 8, 7 limit on us would be a hindrance to our particular application pool with the people that it is composed of and the goals for the institution as far as being high in research and a good academic caliber. And so, yes, to kind of make up for that differential, we have that automatic cap. If you make a 30 on the ACT, and I believe it's a 1300 on the SAT, and you're in the top quarter, you're not an automatic admit. And the university, I was not. I was on review. So, and the university instated that to kind of compensate for that lack thereof. And so I'm not technically opposed to the idea. I think it would really behoove us to talk more about it and be like, what's the best route we can take here? Because I know, and I'm finishing my sentence, semicolon, that the administration wants to improve our academic caliber, semicolon, and that includes the caliber of students we're bringing in. semicolon.
He agrees to semicolon limit.
Grammar says otherwise.
Debate for,
Semicolon.
Senator Watts.
Senator Watts, Engineering Caucus. All right, first off, I just want to go over basically what SB 175 was for Texas University. Basically what it's doing is setting a cap at 75% of all resident spaces available for automatic admissions. Basically saying, once they reach that 75%, from that point, basically the percentage admitted from automatic goes down. So that's why you go 10%, 9%, 8%, 7%, back to 8%. Basically, they're just allotting a certain amount for automatic admissions. And based on their demographic that they set, they allot for a lot more international students to come in. Our demographic is different from that. So we need to accommodate for that based on what we're going to pass in this bill. Personally, I'm just like Speaker Uyghur. I'm from 2A high school. I graduated 56 kids. The top 8 kids in my school had over 29 under ACT. And those 3 kids did get in automatic admissions. So basically the same kind of thing happens. So basically what it is, I looked into it, and if we're going to do this, there's basically one option to be had. And that's to strike whereas 3, therefore letting me act 1 and 2. And basically what we're going to do is make that cutoff for Texas A&M University 50%. And what that would do, because last year, 2014, we had 53% of our automatic admissions were based on our applicant pool. And so what we'll be doing is we'll be cutting that automatic percentage down to 50% of our available spaces. So basically, we'll be bringing us down to about 9.8% of the top 10% schools. So basically, what that'll be doing is lowering our percentage just a little bit, but it's also getting these spaces available to those kids that are from the super small high schools, that are from those big high schools that just are competing with. Okay, so basically, are from those high schools that are competing with very, very high caliber students. And that gives them a fair opportunity to compete on a level playing field for that other 50% that aren't automatic admissions. Basically, that's kind of my argument for reforming this bill. If we're going to go ahead and pass that, this is the route we need to take. And I yield to. Okay, yes.
All right. And next will be Senator Boggle.
I'd like to close in a minute.
Okay, we have an amendment. The bill.
It's basically.
Can you give a brief description of the amendment?
I am basically putting in a long list of names that one should be probably this bill should go to. It's pretty much for the higher ed, for the state legislature, for the higher ed committee for both the House and the Senate, and also a couple of senators, state senators here that would like to support my bill.
Okay, so this amendment is adding sponsors to the bill as well as people that it should be sent to. Is there any debate against this amendment?
Point of order, Mr. Speaker. Debate 4 for amendments to the translation.
Okay, yeah, right. Debate 4. Who's got debate 4? Senator Bogler.
Obviously, if this bill gets passed, I want to spearhead this and pretty much say, hey, we're going to bring this bill, we're going to pretty much put it to their education committee and education committee in Texas and Austin, and pretty much say, hey, this is our plan, this is our idea. I want to spearhead that. I don't want all of a sudden you just wait around and all of a sudden, like last time with the concealed carry, all of a sudden take a while and literally have the bill brought to when it's being voted upon. I want pretty much every representative and senator to have the bill, a copy of the bill in their hand before they even start debating.
Are you going to yield the
Yeah.
Okay, yield the floor. Any debate against this amendment? Seeing none, I'll deem debate one side and move into a period of voting. All in favor of the Bosworth amendment, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. Nay. The ayes of the chair, that passes. And we will now move back into a period of debate against, and Senator Bosworth, you saw the floor.
I use my time to
Okay, guys, so basically, I just like Speaker Uyghur, I agree that this bill needs to send back to committee and definitely be researched more and discussed more with the administration. I think this is a great idea, and I think it's definitely doable, but it's definitely doable in the future. And it's something that I think taking brash decisions right now and going through the process very quickly and just throwing something together and sending it to the state legislature wouldn't look good on our Senate if we haven't done the required research that's necessary. So I'm all for sending it back to committee, and I yield my time to Speaker.
So at the end of this, I'm gonna make a motion to send this back to the committee, and here's the reason why. I will personally go meet with Dr. Young and Dr. Hudson myself, and have a conversation with them about why is this the way it is, and what can we do about it? I have a problem with it. I've been on the same boat. Right now, I'm still on the same boat with law school. If you didn't know, I was applying. I have a Corgi as well. But I think Dr. Young would bring a really fresh perspective on this because he's from Washington State. Their policy is getting high caliber students into the university is totally different from Texas. And so I think perhaps if we, I'm sure he already has an opinion on it because if you haven't met him yet, he's a huge academic, wants to improve us as a research institution. And so I think that if we seriously don't take shortcuts, like I talked about if you're in 68, and sit down, and I'm happy to bring whoever with, and talk with them about it, I think they would enlighten us on the subject. Not that I don't think that we're capable of doing our own research and finding things out ourselves, but at least give some explanation as to why perhaps this might be a good idea, or it might not be. And so I think, I'm for the idea, but I'm also for not taking shortcuts and making sure if we're gonna send this to the Capitol, that it better look good and make sense. And so I know that.
We have a point of
If we send this back to committee and it doesn't get resolved by the time that the extra sessions will be killed,
yes, it will be killed. Bills not carry over to the next session.
Point of
So we
information.
need to pass it by joint session, which gives us, we have a meeting 2 weeks from now and then a meeting a week from then. So we do have time to send it back to committee and bring it back.
is there any way to send it to the next session in a different way? Like introduce it?
Well, you could introduce a bill that was,
Identical?
yeah, it was identical, but it wouldn't be technically the same.
Process there.
Point of information.
Yes, Senator Hood.
Senator Hood off campus. Is it not true that the deadline for submitting new legislation to the Texas Capitol or to the House and to the Senate within the state of Texas has passed already? So therefore, this bill, while we'd send it forward, it would have no effect in the 84th legislative session?
I believe it has, however, is this, I thought this was encouraging a standing bill. If it's not, then you're correct. But if it is encouraging a bill that's already been written, then you're correct.
For legislation.
Point of information, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, sir.
Is it not possible under the Senate bylaws to renew bills from a previous session and put them on the agenda for?
You can do that, but they have to have already been passed.
Okay, thank you.
And additionally, this is supporting House Bill 588, so the legislation has already been submitted. Yes, Senator Jones.
Information. This is in support of the bill or encouraging them to reform the bill?
This is supporting reform legislation of Texas House Bill 588. I don't know exactly what that House bill says. However, since that bill has been submitted, much like our committee process, it can be amended to say what we want it to. I don't know the status of the bill. If anybody does, yes.
Point of information, Texas House Bill 588 is basically the top symbol.
That was passed. It's not
Anyone else?
supporting anything that's supposed to.
Okay,
So,
you
point-
have a whopping 18 seconds left.
So, with that being said, I think if we're gonna encourage them to reform a bill, we should be 100% informed from all sides of the perspective to have a great, what's the word I'm looking for? To actually get stuff accomplished. Like if we half do it, it's not gonna work as well. Not saying that Bosworth didn't do it, but I think we could do more. Okay, cool. And if it's in order, Mr. Speaker, I would like to motion to send this back to the Rules and Regulations Committee.
It was on my page.
Legislative, sorry.
Okay, multiple seconds, so this is a debatable motion, is there any debate against this motion? Yes, Senator Marinoff.
Howdy, Senator Marinoff, engineer.
Well, our mission statement does ask us to research on behalf of the students. We're not in the position of the administrators, and therefore we don't have full understanding of consequences, what it entails, stuff like that. This is simply a bill that expresses the opinion of students and what we would like to see in the future. And we don't have all the details as to how it would be best implemented. So I think as it is, it's a pretty good bill. I don't think it needs to be sent to committee, but it's already been considered a committee, so I really don't see why we should send it back. So I yield to Senator Cruz.
Senator Hood, off campus. So I think that the spirit of this bill is very much something that I support. I think that we do need to have reform within the organization. But what I also believe is that we could do much better than this because we were to pass it in the 67 session period. It would only exist for that very short period of time in which exec would be required to advocate for that, in which our student, that'd be the official stance for our student government. What I would like to see is this changed obviously to a statute or an act, which would be, we could see later on down the road where it would be year in and year out the something that student senate advocates for. I don't really, sending this to committee, I feel like is something that would just be pushing the ball down the road. We could handle this completely in the 68 session, have time to really do our research and really do our job well. Because bottom line, this will be back up in 2 weeks. And if, you know, the Madam Speaker would get up and say that we could have adequate research in 2 weeks, and I will support moving it, but as it stands right now, I have not seen that. So with that, I yield to Sir Bosman.
How much time do I have left?
Yeah, 30 seconds.
Okay. So anyway, the reason why I want to push this bill through is I understand that for one, yes, the deadline's already passed, but I still want to push it through and pretty much bring a message saying that for one, we're not going to pretty much just say, hey, we're going to roll over, pretty much die and just say, hey, you know, University of Texas can take you to the top, cream of the crop, and pretty much say, hey, I'm second.
For you, under the board.
Oh, there was something.
You guys like 5 seconds, so it's definitely over now. So recognition with, we'll begin with Speaker Weeder.
Howdy again. So I don't think we have anything to lose by sending it back to committee. I take Joseph Hood's point into serious consideration. We gain by if we put it back to committee, and I have a conversation. In fact, if anybody else wants to go, please by all means come with. And we have a conversation and we can get it out, great. If not, do it the next session. So I don't think we have anything to lose. If anything, you would fail the bill now and we'd have to start all over. Why not send it back to committee, have a chance for us to talk, and then actually make something happen?
Yes, sir, Senator Mironoff.
When does the 84th session of the state legislature adjourn?
I don't know. Do you know the answer to that?
I believe it's at the end of May.
Okay. Well, if we're gonna take your word for it, it's the end of May.
Joint session is April 29th. So yay. Anyway, I feel like give us the opportunity to go and talk, have a conversation. And personally, I think we could do some real good because we need to find out is the 10% the cream of the crop? Is the 7% the cream of the crop? I would argue that my particular high school, 20% might be more cream of a crop than a 5A's top 5. And so, you know, I feel like everything with high school valedictory, salutatory, and the rank is all entirely subjective. Your high school education can totally suck. And so I think that the whole thing in general is stupid. I think we should just do away with it at all. I feel like everybody should go in on a review because I feel like that's the only fair way to do it. But we have nothing to lose by sending this back to committee other than one being responsible to doing research and to go against what Mironoff said. We are the voice of the students. I personally don't want to send this over and make all the students potentially look dumb because maybe this is something that in the eyes of the administration, they're thinking, whoa, if we do this, we might not be getting the true cream of the crop. Because I think we can all agree that A&M wants to get the best people. Like, I don't think they're out to be like, all right, let's just get the middle of the road. They're all okay. I mean, maybe that's me. But, you know, we want to do the best that we can. I know, especially with new leaders coming into positions, that they're definitely, especially with somebody like Dr. who's so academically focused and going to do everything in his power to make sure we get the best people. Send it to Sophie. Quick, you got it.
All right, so here. All right, so I actually kind of tried to work this when I was, I think, a sophomore. So it was like a few years ago. It was the exact same thing, and I actually like wanted to get rid of the top 10%. 7. Just refer to committee. We'll come up with something, and it'll be better. Move to the previous question.
Our previous question has been moved. We will move seconds. We will now do a period of voting on previous questions. So all in favor of moving to previous question, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay.
Nay.
In the eyes of the chair, although nay was very loud, the ayes. We will now move into a period of voting on sending this to committee, which is a majority vote. So all in favor of sending this to committee, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say
Nay.
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 And with that, this bill will be referred to the Legislative Affairs Committee.
Okay, so moving on to SB 6793, the open access awards bill. Jason, that's you, and Sanka, I believe.
Yes,
Make sure we have the right one, because there's like 3 on the drive.
I sent it to the pro-temp email. It should be the most recent.
It's not here. What? I have.
If you go to the email, it says bill for, oh, never mind, they were.
No, that's not it, that's different.
No, that's a different bill.
Yeah, awkwardly, we're not gonna scroll through this.
I sent it out.
The one in the drive is the correct one.
Yeah, I like how this.
All right, great. If we can have you on the board, we'll get 10 here.
Howdy, Senate. The only change between this bill and the final bill is right here where you see in whereas one, it says Senate Bill dash dash dash. That has been replaced with the proper resolution that we passed 2 weeks ago, talking about open access materials. Other than that, this is the final bill format. So what this is saying is trying to put a little muscle behind the resolution we passed and just asking administration to award 2 professors from each college who make a good faith effort to incorporate the changes we asked for, which is to use open access materials instead of more expensive textbooks. So this is just, it's not gonna cut student fees or anything, we're not paying for it, but it's just a small recognition for the 2 professors who have listened to us and through us, our constituents the most. So I don't foresee this being controversial. Is there anything I need to add? And that's it. So that's what it is.
Calls for recognition for questions from Senator Maroff.
Howdy, Senator Maronoff, Engineering. If there's a large, candidate pool to choose from, how do you foresee the two professors being chosen?
Colleges already award plenty of awards to a large candidate pool for all sorts of different things. So they have infrastructure in place to make a determination on who deserves the support.
All right, thank you so much. I was curious.
Are there any other questions for the bill? Seeing none, thank you so much. We'll move into a period of debate. I'll start with recognition of debate against the bill. Any debate against? Seeing none, debate is one-sided. We'll move into a period of voting. All in favor of passing the open access awards bill as read, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. That passes unanimously. We'll now move on to new business with SB 6797, the rain awning bill. Just to make the body aware, we do actually have, and there's a mistake on the agenda, another bill after this, and we're gonna forward it to you now for new business.
Point of order, Madam Speaker.
Yes.
Under the bylaws, the final agenda as sent out by a member, like the chair of IA, is considered final. So therefore, a motion to deviate from the agenda would be necessary for that bill to be considered.
Not sure about that, but once we get there, we will handle it. I don't personally think that's correct because I'm the one that sends out the bill and I said it. So if that's an issue, then I will make sure that that happens in open session. Mr. Woolsey, you should listen to him. He feels good. So you have the floor.
All right, so howdy. Let's get it up here. Basically, Senator Collins and I have talked to a bunch of people, and there's quite a few spots on campus that have a high volume of bus riders, and when it rains, these people have to stand in the rain with no cover. So basically, we're just asking the university to go ahead and just build a couple of awnings in some of the higher volume spots. You had some spots that need them.
I was just thinking, Trigon area is a major area for the bus routes, and there's no awnings anywhere. Most of the places that people have to stand, most of them stand underneath buildings and run to the bus when the bus gets there, as opposed to just building an awning and having it sitting there. And routes on it, such as Route 1, I mean, I know there's awnings over on West Campus right there by Winger that has some protection from rain, but like anywhere else around it, it's a high volume area. Just blow the rain.
Yeah, behind the MSC is another big spot where there's quite a few bus stops with no awnings. I emailed Transportation Services to see if there's like another figure on this. They haven't gotten back to me yet. So hopefully they get back to us before committee meeting, so we can have that included in the final bill.
They should have something around, shouldn't take them long, because they did the redefining of the bus routes, last year, so they should have numbers from that to go on.
Yeah, so, any questions?
Are there any questions for the bill presenters? Seeing none, I'll refer this to the Student Services Committee. Okay, if there is no contest, we will go ahead and hear the bill that is just being sent out to you, like, as we speak, I think, just as it's being sent. It is the Texas, it is the Preservation of the Texas Property Act. Do you have a senator with you?
I do.
Okay. And so, since there's no contest, we'll move forward.
Madam Speaker, refresh my memory, how much time do I have? 10 minutes.
No, you've been here.
Howdy, Senate.
Howdy.
It's been a while since I've been here. I never got to do a ring tap with my ring. And I know that some of us may have this idea of what an actual ring tap is, but I'll let you know that the proper way to perform a ring tap is more of a call and response. When you hear it, you can imagine what you would respond with that to. That's right. So that is how we did it back in the day. So some of you may know me, some of you probably don't. I've been around here for a while. I served in the 64, 65th, and 66th sessions. I came up and spoke to y'all in an open forum last year, as Senator Hood reminded me, wherever he is, I believe for some reason. But I remember that he said that I came up and I said that I should not write more bills than all of you. And so I felt that I should come up here and actually write a bill for once in my retirement from Senate. It's not as bad being retired from Senate as you can imagine. It's nice to A, get a job, B, get a second job, C, get a third job, and D, start your own business. It's pretty dang cool. So don't worry about your retirement from Senate. It's going to be a blast. All right? Enough about that. Before we get to kind of the meat and the bones of this bill, I want to talk to you about just the nature of history. Not necessarily the facts, the personal beliefs, opinions you may have about history, but history as a whole. What it is it's the remembrance of the events, the people, the occurrences that have led us to the present. And I don't believe that as an institution of higher learning, that we should ignore any set of facts from those that have brought us to the point that we are today. We can't be known as a culture that whitewashes over parts of history or tries to rewrite its own history in favor of something that is more favorable to the majority or more favorable to someone who just might not like the events that led to today. And so that is part of the basis on what this bill was written on. As you know, many of those people down the road in Austin took it upon themselves in their own lesser form of student senate to vote to remove the statue of President Jefferson Davis from their campus. And so I believe that as an institution of higher learning, we are a branch and arm of the state. All right, and this statue that was over at the TU campus was property of the state. And so simply because some students may not agree with the history that happened, it might not be the history they like, but it's the history that happened. That is what is important. So because they did not like this, they decided to remove state property from their campus. It is not to present, to my knowledge, actually been removed, but they have expressed a concern that they wish it to be removed. And so I say that as an arm of the state, we are a campus that should acknowledge and embrace our state's history, our country's history, and not try to whitewash over parts of it that may simply not be appealing to the masses. And so I believe that we should be the leaders in this push to recognize our own history, our whole history, and if those hippies over there at TU decide that they don't want this state property displayed at their campus anymore, we should lead the fight to say, no, this is part of our state's history. We want it displayed at a campus that acknowledges all, includes all views, and the teaching, the learning, and the respect. And so if you'll scroll down a little bit, I wrote this bill understanding and believing in the parliamentary committee process. If you've ever heard me present a bill before, you know that I love the committee process. And so I wrote this bill with that in mind. And so I included Let It Be Enacted 3, simply so y'all can see it, that if we do pass this bill, I will personally rent a trailer, drive to Austin, put that statue on a trailer, and bring it back to College Station, so that we don't have to use student fees. I'll volunteer back there because I don't believe in using student fees for things that we might not need to use them on. So I will personally volunteer to bring that here. All right. So I know that might get erased in committee, whatever, but it's there. Let the committee do their process. Let's also remember this is the first reading of the bill, so we're not necessarily debating on the finer points, your personal opinions or your personal beliefs about the bill. This first meeting is meant to say, is this a valid bill that could be sent to the Legislative Affairs Committee that could be considered for a second reading that has been overlooked or has been reviewed by the committee so we can discuss it as a full body. That is the purpose of this first reading. So with that in mind, there's one other part I want to look at. Scroll up, see if we got it in my memory. I guess I did cover it. So let's just remember that as we look at this part of history, the three words that can crumble any society is "that offends me." Those three words will crumble any society. And we have to know that just because we don't like part of history doesn't mean it didn't happen. Doesn't mean that we have to be. Doesn't mean we don't have to acknowledge it. So let's remember that as a center of intellectual and cultural acknowledgement, that we should see this displayed on our campus, since our counterparts over there at TU don't believe in acknowledging the history of our state. With that, I will take your questions.
Start with Bosworth.
Senator Bosworth, Geosciences, do you know of any student organizations that wish to remove any state property or statues here and present?
I cannot think of any off the top of my head, but I see that you may have one in mind. That would be out of order, since you cannot answer questions, sorry.
Back of the story. All right, Marinov.
Senator Marinov, Engineering, would you be, would you contact the administration to have the statue put next to the statue of another Confederate great, Sul Ross?
The advocation of the bill is not my prerogative. The advocation of the bill is on behalf of exec, who would receive a passed bill from the Senate and therefore would go and use the bill to advocate what it says.
Senator Eberdat, College of the Arts. Do you remember what the Civil War was about? My first question.
The war between the states was an issue of states' rights.
I get it through.
That would be out of order.
Yeah,
That's the question.
Okay, my second question is.
No, that's out of order. At the end. We get one at a time. Mitchell.
Chairman, rules and regulations. So I believe, first permission to preface.
Yes.
So I believe that this issue came up during a student body president campaign. Do you know what any of the other issues that student body president and student body vice president duo ran on?
The other issues that I remember were mostly farcical or satirical issues, that they were running a joke campaign. They're like, hey, this sounds fun. Let's run for student body president and, promise everybody unicycles or something like that and see if we can win. And then they got elected because, well, they're TU. So I don't remember the finer points of anything they ran on, but I know that they ran on kind of ridiculous issues. But then once they got elected, they're like, whoa, maybe we should actually do stuff.
Point of information, yes, Senator Dean off campus, did the entire student government body as a whole not also vote on this resolution at TU?
I'm not 100% certain on that.
I know that their student senate or their version of the student senate was the ones to vote on the resolution.
Do you, point of information myself, do you happen to know the
I did not see that published anywhere that I researched.
do you have an answer to that?
Yes, it was unanimous. Okay,
Okay,
How many members does the TU student senate have?
I didn't know the answer to that.
Hannah Park, do you have any answer?
all this article says is that the student government voted almost unanimously. It doesn't specifically say student senate, so.
Does it say a number?
It says unanimous? Oh, number, no.
Number of people?
I'm not, it doesn't even say which branch.
Mitchell, do you have anything else?
No.
Okay, Rose.
Senator Rose, freshman caucus. Are you aware that on June 14th, many years ago, Jefferson Davis turned down an offer to serve as the first president of Texas A&M, and how does that affect this bill?
Wow.
You're asking how does Jefferson Davis's denial of the position of first president of Texas A&M affect this bill? You can't verbally answer that. So okay. So the way that I see that is that the state of Texas saw him as someone who could be put in a position of responsibility. I do not know his precise reasons for turning down that position. In all things, we got Lawrence Sullivan Ross out of it. So in the end, we came out on top. Personally, I think we might have been good either way, even though history has told us that Sully was the best one for us.
Evident, back to you.
Senator Eberhard, Liberal Arts Caucus. Do you know if the United States of America views Jefferson Davis as a traitor or not?
No.
Okay, now, Landry.
Senator Lander, Port Cadet. Realistically today, what kind of image do you think you're going to do A&M
Yeah, I'm talking about subsided. I believe that we would be seen as someone who is wishing to preserve the history of our state. Like I said, he was president over a country that Texas was part of, and we shouldn't whitewash parts of history that we simply don't like. And so, simply because some people may view us as less, some people may view us as something undesirable. Well, TU has viewed us as undesirable for decades. I don't personally care what other people think about A&M. I personally believe in acknowledging what A&M thinks of A&M.
Okay, back to Julio.
Senator Villar, College of Liberal Arts. To my knowledge, we don't have a ton of statues around campus of random historical figures that weren't central to Texas A&M. How would you envision a statue of Jefferson Davis adding to the decor around other than just
Well, first I'd like to point out whatever that statue is in front of Rudder. I don't really know what's going on there. I also have that University. The statue that's in front of Harrington, I don't also know what's going on there. So I don't really know how that applies to our university. Honestly, I think the other statues that we have a statue of a U.S. military member over by the quad, I believe. I'm not down there very much, so I'm not too sure what the specifics of that statue are. But that reflects our military history, our history and heritage. I'd say those two at the same time doesn't work out. We have one of a wildcatter by the Richardson Petroleum Building. I believe that shows our commitment to the oil industry, the fracking industry. The statue of General Rudder represents a looming time in our state's history, both for our university and for our ideas across the state, as he was a major leader during a critical time of our university's history. And lastly, the statue of Sully. I believe he is the founder of this great university, and his prominent place in the middle of campus is one that is very fitting. And so Jefferson Davis would fit into this rotation of various figures we have. He was president over Texas during a very sacrificing, during a very trying time, during a very divided time. And regardless of your views of him, he was the leader over this state and many of our fellow states. And so he was the one who was able to step up and say, this is a position that may hurt me in the future. This is a position that many people, just north of the river might not like me for, but I'm going to be willing to do it because I care for my country, I care for my home, I care for the people in my home. And so I believe that's a value that would definitely reflect our university.
Okay, I got one. Would you say that Jefferson Davis is a prominent figure in Texas history?
Yes.
Another question. Would you say
Point
that?
of information, were you at the end of the line?
Yes, I am. And then
Okay.
Bertha just recognized us again. So Bertha, you got it.
Senator Ruth off campus, permission to preface.
Briefly.
So I know you said that Jefferson Davis was a leader, and that we should honor him for that. Adolf Hitler was also a leader. And very well known racists. So in the current state of the age that we're in, with Ferguson shootings and different other things, why should we promote racism? Or not promote racism, but promote a man that does promote racism.
I would like to answer your question by reading a quote from a very prominent figure in American history. I have no purpose to introduce political and social equality between the white and black races. There is a physical difference between the two, which in my judgment will probably forever forbid their living together upon the footing of perfect equality, and inasmuch as it becomes necessary, as it becomes a necessity that there must be a difference, I, as well as Judge Douglas, am in favor of the race to which I belong having the superior position. That was said by Abraham Lincoln in 1858. And so acknowledging that simply one's beliefs may reflect poorly on a country obviously doesn't work, because Abraham Lincoln was one of the most beloved presidents ever, but he's still also one of the most racist presidents ever. So one's personal beliefs, even though they may or may not have differing levels of publicity, I personally don't believe should matter. We have various statues around campus of people
Point of
who made
information.
it happen. You can interrupt me later. I'm in the middle of speaking. We have other. We have other.
Yes.
Okay, he actually does, since it is a point of privilege, he actually does have the right to stand and ask the questions. But please.
Senator Ruth off campus, was it Abraham Lincoln that wrote or signed the Emancipation Proclamation which freed the slaves?
Okay.
As you can see, he had many different positions. And like I said, in our,
I need to call you out. First of all, to answer your question, yes, but all of these points are becoming debate, which is not in order. So this is a first reading. This is what the committee process is for. Continue. You've got a minute and 30 seconds.
Was that continuing to me?
Yes.
Like I said in my presentation, this is not a debate of the various personal beliefs about facts or opinions of history. Now, to answer your question, I would say that, like most politicians, he was a two-faced man. You can say that about almost any politician today, in this room, out of this room, in Washington. If you look at them, they're all two-faced men who are trying to advance themselves personally. So you could say about that, about any holder of public office.
Okay, so next I have G.
All right, Chair G, Finance. So Woolsey, good to see you. We served together 65, 66. It's been a long time. So my question is, did you not learn any lessons from a certain bill?
I learned a lot of lessons. I loved every one of them, and I would learn them all again gladly. Because I believe it is right, and I believe in standing for principle over popularity.
Point of information, Madam Speaker.
Yes.
Would it be in order to move to send this bill to committee?
Yes.
Madam Speaker, I move to send this bill to the Legislative Affairs Committee.
Is there a second? Okay, all in favor okay, all in favor of sending this to LA, please say aye. All opposed, please say nay.
Nay.
That fails. Okay, so, moving on to
Thank you, sir.
Martha, I believe I have, oh.
Oh, was I done or were you moving on?
It's for like 50 seconds.
50 seconds. Oh, I'm answering questions. Oh, okay, perfect. Are there more questions that I can answer for you?
I have Martha again, is that the case? D.
Senator D on campus, considering the fact that the statues we have on campus were rudder solely, that specifically helped A&M's university, as a university, can you explain how, I guess, Jefferson Davis has directly impacted Texas A&M?
I can. For one, he allowed Lawrence Sullivan Ross to be part of the Confederate Army, where he was then able to rise to a position of power where he could be granted this position to serve as our president. I also believe that he helped in shaping the culture of the South at the time. They began relying on an agricultural economy on which they had been relying for many generations. So as seeing that we were formerly known as the Agricultural and Mechanical College of Texas, he was instrumental in trying to keep alive the agricultural economy that was running our state.
Okay, 30 seconds remaining, Collins.
Connor Collins off campus, postponing definitely.
Motion has been made to postpone indefinitely. Are there multiple seconds? Yes, there are. Is this a debatable motion, Mr. Wolf, and I believe it is.
Yes, I'm certainly
I think it is, because it's cutting out limited time.
Yes, it is.
Yes, and it would also require a two-thirds vote. Okay, so, debate, is there any debate, wait, yes, is there any debate against postponing this indefinitely? None? Okay, then debate is one-sided, and so we will move into a period of voting. All in favor of postponing this bill indefinitely, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay.
Nay. Division.
Correct the purposes I want to see standing. Okay, all in favor of postponing indefinitely, please say aye so I can get a specific head count.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
All opposed? Okay, it's postponed indefinitely. Okay, moving on to.
Thank you, Senate. You win some, you lose some. Have a good night.
To open session, are there any bills for open session?
I have a resolution for open session.
Can you please give us the title and brief?
Thank you, Dr. Hussey, resolution.
Okay, can you send that to the pro tem email?
Yes, it's been sent.
It's actually got a great title. Better than now.
Please stay in order. We have a good portion of the meeting to go through and it requires us working efficiently. Yes. Please stay in order. I can't hear him even when he's right in front of me. He's already yes.
What was the
It was 27 to 6. Are you calling Okay, so no formal.
Howdy, Senate. This one, just like the last bill,
Please stay in order. He's presenting something.
is a bill I sponsored that one of my constituents.
You're still talking.
Has written and asked me to introduce. This one is from Vice President of Academic Affairs, Jason Wood. And so Jason and I have both met personally with Dr. Hussey and discussed all our plans for the year several times. And he's always been very receptive to us. And so what this says is the actual title is Hero Under Sudden Stress Emerging Last Year, which spells Hussey, resolution. Resolution to congratulate Dr. Hussey for keeping the ship straight. So I wish Jason were down here with me, being shy today. But basically what it says is, Dr. Hussey did a great job as interim president. We just want to thank him for you guys filling vacancies. Resolutions are different from bills in that there is no first or second reading. There's just one reading. And they're not really designed to change anything, just to express, the opinion of this body. And so that's what's going on tonight. I just wanted to thank him for that a little bit. Just commend him, and it's only sent to him, so just a memento from his time here as our president. So I don't anticipate this being very controversial. Are there any questions?
Are there any questions for Chair Thompson? Seeing none, thank you. We will move into a period of debate on the resolution as read. Is there any debate against the resolution? Seeing none, debate is one-sided. Move into a period of voting. All in favor of passing this resolution as read, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say nay. That passes unanimously. Okay, any other items for open session? Any other items for open session? Seeing none, open session is now closed. Okay, so we will move to committee reports. I'd like to remind the chairs that there is a meeting with 68 on Wednesday at 7 p.m. So please do not schedule your meetings, and if you have people in those sessions, they won't be able to make it. So I'll start with Carlson.
Well, howdy Senate. Thank you guys for electing me. I'm first of all excited to serve out the rest of this session and next session as well. Sorry, I consider it. We have several bills in our committee because it's been a long time since we've met. So we have that in addition to the rain awning bill from tonight. We will be meeting at 7 o'clock on Sunday, so it's an hour earlier than we've been meeting. Same place as usual. 7 o'clock, and for those of you who are not aware of where we normally meet, it's in the SJ office, in the there's just a room, they'll find us. I don't know the exact room number.
Are there any?
That I yield the question.
Are there any questions for Chair Carlson? Seeing none, that closes the report. Thank you. Next, move on to Sonic.
Chair Sonk, Academic Affairs. First of all, welcome to our 2 new members that were added today. If you're on Academic Affairs, you got the email, come up and shake my hand afterwards so I can see your face and get your email address correct for our meetings. We don't have any bills in Academic Affairs, so we're not going to have a meeting next week. If you have any questions about development in 68, how to write a bill or anything like that, I've prepared templates for you guys just to give you the best chance of success in the next session. As far as an update on Academic Affairs goes, I'm meeting with Dr. Kneimer tomorrow. And that's just a monthly meeting that we have. I don't really see any big changes coming down Academic Affairs. Towards the end of the year, I do hope that we address this top 10% thing. I think it's an important issue that we as a body need to take control of, because the students have no real voice besides us. And so we need to give them a voice on this issue. So thanks Senator Bosworth for introducing that, and challenge the LA committee to come up with something that we can pass out of here. And with that, I'm open for questions.
Are there any questions for Chair Sonk? Seeing none, thank you. Chair Felder would normally be there. Chair Felder's meeting is canceled, so she will not be having, CRU will not be meeting. And while I'm on it, IA, Brandon is ill, and so he had to leave. And we will be meeting preceding the next Senate meeting, so I guess that would be the 22nd. So the Sunday before that at 8 p.m. So, any questions, any options about IA?
Well, Madam Speaker, will the meeting be on Sunday or Monday?
Sunday, 8 p.m.
Okay.
Okay, I'll close that. Then next, move to finance.
All right, Chair G, Finance, well, howdy. I'm excited to have 5 new members to my committee. So instead of 2, we now have 7. That's exciting. So we are going to have a meeting. Kind of want to get those of you who are new to get kind of initiated. Kind of get a what we're going to be doing the rest of the semester. A little bit of hazing.
Point of parliamentary procedure. Are not the members of the finance committee supposed to be confirmed by the Senate?
That is actually correct. So, we plan?
We're going to deviate.
Okay, well, apparently that's already in the works. So,
thank you.
good question.
So back to what I was saying. We're going to be meeting at 6 o'clock in Coldus, regular place on couches. So you walk out to the left, there will be tables right there, so we're just going to meet. Probably take about 15, 20 minutes of your time. We have a few things coming up to discuss.
Sunday?
No, next Wednesday. Did I say Sunday?
No.
Okay. No, next Wednesday at 6 o'clock before your next Senate meeting if you're part of it. So.
Are there any questions for Chair G? Seeing none, thank you. Austin Springer is not here, and so LA, your meeting time per bylaws will revert back to the original time that you had last time. Don't know when that was. Anybody in LA? It was at 7 on Wednesday. So, it'll be at 7 on Wednesday until we hear anything else and potentially see if we can do anything about it. Okay, moving to
Chairman Tool, Rules and Regulations. We'll have the Rules and Regulations Committee meeting Thursday at 7 p.m. Hold this Senate office. So if you are new to RR, I'll add you to our little mini RR listserv, send out a reminder. And I think we have a couple bills in there that are kind of unpopular bills, but we'll see if we can get the bill author to come around and make our elected judicial court chief justice position or whatever, get that out of committee. I don't know how the committee feels about that, but we're going to do that. And other than that, pretty good job on the rules. We got some new senators talking, so that's always exciting. We got a big motion coming up there at the top from new senator. So well done. Kind of getting acquainted to the rule. I'm happy to see all the people talking. And with that, I am ready for questions.
Are there any questions for Chairman Tool? Yes, Mayor. You have a question, raise your hand.
No.
Okay. Any?
Oh.
You have a question?
Yes, I'm sorry. Go.
Okay, closing is committee report. All right, so, do any of the committee chairs have anything they need to add before we move on? Yes.
Chairman Tool, Rules and Regulations. I motion deviate from the agenda to swear in or to have a time of confirmations for the finance committee members.
Okay, yes, please, if there are seconds, all in favor of deviating to confirm finance committee members, keyword confirm, not swear in, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. That passes unanimously. So if we can have the new members come forward. And so how confirmations work, since we technically haven't had a real confirmation yet, it'll be where they will come forward. Mr. G will have a chance to present them for 10 minutes. There will be a period of 5 minutes of question and answer. There will be debate on them being confirmed, and then we will vote. So, ready to go?
Well,
It is my knowledge that these cannot be done collectively.
Executive individual.
What?
Yes.
More information we're reading. The rest of us on the finance committee with that.
They were done.
Yeah, they were.
You know what?
Point of,
So-
point of order, Madam Speaker, as far as finance committee confirmations, whether to combine or divide them, that's in the judgment of the chair unless somebody makes a motion. She just made it.
Okay, I think G was going to combine the question, from my understanding. Is that
Yes,
correct? Okay, so if the new members of finance committee, and probably should have come back.
Seven
Oh,
total, but 5 new members.
I only have 6.
Yes.
Yeah, I was gonna.
Raise your hand if you're on the list for finance.
Okay, so Chase is not on the list. All right, so Strawler and Allen come forward. So this one goes at 3. See this one.
So Tyler and Luke, I'm pouting by the way. These guys, we've worked together for a long time. They're gonna do great. But in all seriousness, I mean, they're committing to the finance committee. I believe that they'll do a good job the rest of this session. So if you all have any questions.
Any questions for the chair?
Are you in? Okay.
Wait, wait too long. Was it native word? Sorry.
And Taylor as well.
That was the green. This is the green.
C.
Gotta be 6 right.
Okay, AC.
Is it 8?
Point of information, Madam Speaker.
Yes.
what is the current,
Somebody and I pull up the spreadsheet.
what is the current number of,
We're
senators?
trying to figure it out. Hey, please stay in order. We're trying to figure it out. Yes, Miller. Yes.
Whatever Senator Ives has pulled up, I'm not listed on the finance committee, but I am on the finance committee.
So how many does that equal to total?
Currently, including G, Joseph Hood and Riley Dupuy, there's 9. Yeah.
Somebody's gonna get voted off the island. So
If we only swear in Ben.
you can't do.
Point of parliamentary
Yes.
procedure.
Yes.
If we only
Hey, please stay in order. Too much talking.
if we only swear in the people who are up there right now, does that mean we're swearing in even the people that are not here currently that are on the
But that
list?
still makes the total, not 6.
The total will be 8 if we swear in.
Yeah.
Well, the total's not 6 right now.
Yeah. If we were just swearing those 4, we'd be singing
There's 4
8.
sitting
Oh,
there.
hey, whoa, order. So, y'all are out. Carlos, I see your placard not talking.
Chair Sonka, Academic Affairs. If indeed Trey Miller's on the Finance Committee, there are currently 4, and so by my math, 4 plus 4 is 8, which is allowed by I did it in Excel, it's verified.
Okay, all right. So we're gonna move to questions. Are there any questions for the chair? Okay, Senator Merrill.
To the new member, to the appointees who are being confirmed, what would you like to accomplish as a member of the finance committee over a short period of time?
Over the short period of time at Senator Allen, Mays Business School, I'd like to kind of just get an understanding of the allocations that the Finance Committee makes through the organizations at Texas A&M, and just get a basis understanding of what we have to accomplish and what we can do in this short period of time.
Well, I'm kind of concerned our finance committee doesn't know much about itself, so. I agree with Senator Allen. I'd like to, these short 2 weeks, just learn how the committees work and go from there for the next session.
Creed, I'd like to stay on the finance committee for next session. I'd like to learn how it all works. Carlos, ahead.
Chair Sonka, Academic Affairs. I move to close the period of presentation.
My motion is to close the period of question and answer, and there are multiple seconds. All in favor of closing Q&A, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, please say nay. That almost passed the unanimous. We'll now move into debate. All right, is there any? Is there any debate against the candidates?
Point of order, the candidates are not left.
Well, they should be looking this way. All right, is there any, I will take recognition for debate against the candidates.
Oh my God.
Thank God. Debate is one-sided. We'll now move into a period of voice voting. All in favor of confirming the 4. God knows how many.
Point
Please
of
say
parliamentary procedure.
Whatever, give yourself a round of applause. Okay. Anyway, so fair enough. Yes.
What is the proper procedure for confirming members? Is it voice vote or ballot vote?
I moved for voice vote. If you got a problem with that, go ahead. Hey, calm down. This is not an angry mob. I'm not trying to torch a pitchfork. All right, please calm down. All right, we're moving into a period of voting, seeing that many of you have already said aye. All in favor of confirming the 4, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, please say nay. Bring them in for swearing in.
Oh, man.
Hey.
I state your name.
I, Tyler Hollander,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to faithfully execute to the best of my ability
to faithfully execute to the best of my ability
the duties of the office of
the duties of the office of
Finance Committee members
Finance Committee members
for the Texas A&M University Student Government Association,
for the Texas A&M Student Government Association,
to uphold the honor of the same
to uphold the honor of the same,
at all times to protect the welfare of the student body
at all times to protect the welfare of the student body,
and to promote good relations between the students
and to promote good relations between the students
and those concerned with the university.
and those concerned with the university.
Congratulations.
She showed up here last minute while Britt was hanging out in the office, so. All right, anyway, moving to executive reports, SVP Kelly, you got 8 minutes.
Howdy.
Howdy.
Okay, we're nearing the end of one of the final meetings. Hope everyone had a happy Easter and a great weekend. Before that, a lot of great things have been going on. I always look back at my calendar to kind of update you guys on everything that's been going on the past 2 weeks. I wasn't here at the past Senate meeting, but this is actually going to be briefer than my normal ones, although there's been a lot going on. One of the reasons that it will be briefer is because Casey Crum has made a phenomenal little Excel spreadsheet of all the different policy, all the bills that we've passed in a few acts that we've passed this year, and then what SGA has done. And so that has been sent out, I believe, to everybody. I have a copy here if you want to. I can try and answer questions on the specifics of them, but for the most part, that information has been given to you. Some specific pieces somewhat fall under policy. SVAB, Joseph and I are going to present, I think, on the 14th of April to SVAB. And in the spring, it's more, this is what SGA is for the new board members. And then in the fall is when we ask for that $50,000 allocation. And we've not asked for an increase, I think in like 6 years, something along those lines. And so anyway, that'll be up to y'all next year, whether or not that's done. As you see in DC, we had a phenomenal trip. Braden Kennedy did a tremendous job because Vanderbilt was technically in charge of this. We started it at A&M, and we kind of let other schools try and run it to bring them in, engage them, and they did a really bad job. And they didn't set up meetings with us, certainly not specifically A&M, but for us even as a conference. And so Braden just took initiative and set up a ton of meetings. We met with so many different representatives. We met with the staff of both Texas senators. Ted Cruz has just announced his candidacy for president, so that was an interesting meeting with his staff. But we talked about a lot of great things pertaining to Texas A&M, mainly about funding and research. And one of the things I realized I never had before is A&M is incredibly unique in that we have engineering, business, agriculture, veterinary, all these different things that we can research and benefit society in a way that really, I don't think any other place can. Because all these pieces can collaborate together and really come up with solutions to different problems. So it was really exciting to be there on behalf of A&M. However, if you may have looked, I actually wore this, and we ran into a ton of athletes. A&M is the 5th best represented university on the so that's kind of cool. So while I was gone, there was a meeting for the 2016, sorry, I misread that, but I'll go with that. 2016 presidential debate, I think the bid for that to apply to bring that to A&M has been or is about to be submitted. Joseph and I also met with athletics, Jason Cook, the Associate Athletic Director, talking about ticket pulls. And essentially we have a different problem from our other schools in the SEC, and that students love to come to games and they love to stay at games. And so that has created a very high demand for especially this football season next year. And so the concern there is once ticket pulling is, buying sports passes is open to primarily upperclassmen, they're worried that unless they hold back classes, there's not going to be nearly the amount we would want for the incoming freshman classes. That's a huge part of your freshman experience and getting and starting out at Texas A&M. And so we, and Joseph, proposed a great idea as far as how to, yes, withhold, but then also different ways to kind of phase
hoping. And so it was a great meeting with them, and I think characteristic of what we've had this year, great legislation, and then a great relationship with administration. They came to us for this really important question. So I was really, really proud of that. Lily, I haven't talked about Lily in too long. She's fantastic. All of you know Lily, and she has created a diversity committee and task force, and she's reaching out to colleges. Dr. Stanley, who is in charge of diversity in the provost's office, and she is headed full force as if it was the beginning of the year, and that's how I think we all should be. So she's doing a phenomenal job there. Was going to comment on 10%. I think that the only principle I would share there, I actually initially was having a similar situation, going from a private school to public, did not like the 10% rule. And it looked at TU down the road, and now they had gone from 8 and then also to 7, and thought that that might be a good idea. I've since changed my mind about that after researching and talking to administration. I personally, just for whatever it's worth, think that things are really pretty good right now as far as how A&M does the application system. So the only principle, not that as much that I want to speak specifically to the top 10%, but especially to those of you who are going to be a part of this next session, be sure to research things. And we don't want to write things that that might be relevant, that might not be well researched. And I'm not going to just make that statement for this one, but just if we do our homework behind the scenes, we'll have the credibility that we need to have and be able to impact. Those things are really, really important on behalf of students. Big event, named a new director, Mark Lutz. If you know Mark, he's a fantastic guy. I'm so excited, absolutely about that. And we had a reception honoring Mark Hussey and his wife Melissa for their service to A&M. I have gotten to work, and Hannah and several of you have gotten to work with Dr. Hussey this year. He's a great Aggie. He's a very, and in many ways, and I mean this as a compliment, a very simple man. He has humble roots. He's from Texas. I just think he's a rancher, but he stepped into this very technical and difficult position. Of course, he's an expert, having been a dean in higher education, but he's just done a very, very good job this year, so we honored him. Vice President of Student Affairs Search is moving along. Did some reference checks today on both the final candidates, and found out great things about Dr. Pugh, who I know less about. People that have supervised him give raving reviews. So all I can say about that is we have 2 very, very good final candidates. Let's see. Another thing that I think is very, very positive, certainly credit to Joseph and those that are going to be involved next year, but there were a lot of applications for this year's executive cabinet. We had somewhere in the range of 50s, and I think Joseph had almost 100. So that is fantastic, and I think has to do a lot with sort of the PR push that we've had this year and the great legislation that we have written, all the different things. And I think that students in general, this is one metric to say, and there's not very many quantifiable ways to be able to tell this, but I think that people are thinking that this is something to be involved in, that this is something where you have the potential to lead the survey and to have an impact. And so I think that is a great representation of you guys in what we've done this year. We're moving forward with faculty appreciation. Put that in the email. Wanting to recognize and appreciate all the great faculty at A&M. This is kind of cool, and I don't mention Breakaway very much, but Breakaway, yesterday we had Dr. Russell Moore, who's he's the president of Ethics and Religious Liberty Commission, tongue-tied. He works with Philip Bethencourt, whose parents are John and Debbie Bethencourt, like the Bethencourt Ballroom. Great Aggies, very generous donors to A&M. And he just came and shared some phenomenal things with thousands of Aggies, and I just loved how he was received here at A&M. I thought that was a very exciting thing. So I think that is the majority. I did want to mention, I put out a statement last minute. I wanted to take some credit for this because Hannah got a little heat and some questions last week. That was my fault that statement before spring, right before spring break was put off that long. I was actually under the weather. There's some things going on, and really we wanted to have a unifying statement saying, yes, these are the things that have taken place. People perceive different things from different, media, social media, what have you. I really wanted to speak to the integrity, credibility, and the courage of all the candidates who ran, everyone who ran, and also our, man, I can't believe these all the time, and also organization as a whole. So I have heard great things about that, but hopefully that was great with you. If you're interested, I'm being dunked tomorrow, I think at like 3 o'clock, all hands on deck. MSC flies a bit. I don't know if anyone else has been dunked, so I'll sign up for that somehow. And then this is important. Our banquet, Hannah's done a great job, among others, planning our SGA banquet. We'd love to have everybody there. Please RSVP. I think the link has been sent out to you. With that, we're working hard on transitions. Everyone on our team brought a huge binder. It's going to be very beneficial for the team next year. Thanks so much.
I'll start with recognition from Senator Dean off campus. Do you have any updates on the Lone Star Showdown Revival Act?
I don't specifically, that should is in here. I remember, so a lot of these things, especially when we start to look at 10%, I have to go way back in my mind because these are things we've been talking about and thinking about in the fall, primarily during football season. I think that the way to do this, personally, is not going, because I've learned it's very political, as everyone would understand, as far as why we are not playing TU. It has to do with our, the change of conference, where they are, kind of in the mud in many ways, and some people just kind of can't deal with it. And I personally, I think we should play. I really do. I would love to see us play, and I think one of the ways that we could accomplish that is to get students, primarily here, excited about that. Might be a little more difficult because they just generally don't care as much at TU, but getting them excited about reviving that rivalry, I think that would be a great thing to happen. We tried other avenues with administration, and I know there's kind of this rumor about other state governments that mandate rivalries to happen. I've heard that those are not much true, so I think that it should happen with students.
Hi.
Senator Hunt, freshman caucus, was there anything that you would like to cover that you didn't have time to do?
Really appreciate that, Senator, and I think that was everything. Thank you so much.
Senator Hood. Okay.
Withdraw, Madam Speaker.
Okay, Mitchell.
Chair Mitchell, Rules and Regulations. 2 weeks ago, I know you weren't here, but one of the things I asked Connor Adams, who's in the executive board, in your absence, was we have a summary of the work that the Legislative Relations Task Force has done, simply like a line item budget, what y'all spend money on, as well as representatives you talk to, what those lobby for, things like that. And I know, there's students who forget or whatever, but can you get that for us sometime down the road, maybe email it out to us?
For sure. No, we did not forget. In fact, Braden's here tonight because I apologize for not here again last week. We were in DC, but there were a lot of questions about that, and we have no reason not to be forthfront with the information as far as budgeting, where money was spent. Braden has shared with me, especially with Austin, it's been primarily spent on rental cars, and gas. And gas. And for the other trips, you can see the budget. I'm extremely proud, especially for the trip that I've been a part of, to DC, as far as who we met with and the content of what we shared. So we'd be more than happy to get that to you. I don't know if do we have something written up, Braden? I know that you're here. Okay, we absolutely can. Braden is here specifically for that, so it was not forgotten. We appreciate the questions and the accountability. So he's here to answer. If anybody has any questions about anything LR related that I cannot answer, Braden's here to help us with that.
Yeah.
Senator Marinov, Engineering. Has your team discussed the Lone Star Showdown revival with Southeastern Conference officials and how that would affect our schedule and stuff?
No, again, this isn't something I personally have looked at or been involved with. Casey may have done work on it, but since the fall, and the answer is no, I've definitely not gotten that far in depth with it. It's something I think we generally just need to start the idea of students going to have that game.
Parks.
Senator Parks on campus. First of all, thank you for all the updates so far, but I was wondering if you or Congress had any updates about the Sustain the 12 Man bill, which was about the water bottle refilling stations.
Yes.
In Hellfield, and also any updates of the West Campus renovation expansion.
Absolutely. So the first one of the things, Brandon Valenta was updating us yesterday at our cabinet meeting. He was a part of the selection of, there's something called Aggie Green Fund, and it's actually enormous. I think that they allocate like $200,000. I don't know the specific amount, but it's some significant amount of money towards all kinds of environmental issues, but also things like that. I think they were partially responsible for something water related specifically in Kyle Field. And so I know that was mentioned, and he was talking about collaborating with that group that's already on campus with that similar ambition. So we kind of got an update about that yesterday, and that way made headway. And it's something that you've asked me about after meetings, and we can certainly discuss. West Campus renovations, I know the rec center renovation, I think it's still on schedule. There's been a lot of bumps in the road with rec center renovation as far as housing. It is kind of what was talked about in summary, as far as there's going to be a lot of renovations next year. One of the things we are looking at specifically that we can control with renovations, we can't control timing, all those different things. I think all that's good. We're looking at dining specifically, especially there being less options for those who live on campus, on South Side and the Commons. And so Casey's working with Charles right now to make sure that there's some sort of smaller, more feasible meal plan for the options that will be available for dining on campus. So that's what we're working on specifically with buildings, so not specifically with.
Permission to clarify?
Briefly, because we're running out of
Yeah, I apologize. I did not mean renovations. I meant expansions with, the West Campus dorms and as well as like the different dining options that they were wanting our input in.
Perfect. Yes, I'm sorry, I answered the wrong question. I'm trying to be concise. Okay, so on that note, I think they're still working through specific things. There's a huge question right now of whether to put a very large facility on West Campus, somewhat similar to Sabisa, or to have smaller ones in different areas. I know that they're working on different options, and we haven't had a meeting about that in about a month or two. But so that's something being discussed. I think right now what's really relevant is kind of in the transition. But of course, there's plans for. They scaled back on what they were going to build on West Campus really twice. And so that being said, plans for how to feed people areas have changed.
Howdy, Senator Marinov, Engineering. Going off of your answer, your response to Senator Parks, from which pool of funds does the Aggie Green Fund basically allocate its financing?
So this is going to be just speculation, not fact, but I think it's some sort of outside funding. Now, I'm not sure. Specifically, again, that's something that I was able to do in Greater Valencia, has been more involved with. But I think it's some sort of outside, especially being environmentally related.
Thank you.
Last one, Colin.
Senator Collins, off campus. Normally around this time of year, sports pass options for us to come available is high. Is there a reason why that's happening?
So it is around this time of year, and that is coming up, and that's kind of what I was mentioning. They were looking at the timelines of that.
Stay in order, guys.
And so it is going to soon become available. And the priority is first and foremost those who have had sports passes this previous year, and then also they're taking into consideration, of course, and as we all should be concerned with, incoming freshmen. So yes, that's I don't know the specific date, but it's coming up soon.
Are there any other questions for us, Mr. Kelly? Seeing none, thank you so much. And as Chief Justice Cooper is not here, I'll move forward and speed Tom so we can get out of here. All right, so just first and foremost, congratulations to all of you that are elected to an officer position in the 68. I'm so excited. It's like a group that's very much experienced and very well prepared and ready to move forward. And I think y'all are all going to do an excellent job, despite the fact that not everybody is elected yet. So good luck to y'all in getting the rest of those spots figured out. Next, just really quick, want to say thank you and a good job to Connor Adams and the exec team. They get the exec reports in like on time, every time, and they're all on the drive. So if you ever want to access them, go to the 67th folder, go to exec reports, and there's a huge pages on pages on pages on everything they're doing with our legislation. So I commend them because that's problems we've had in the past. They get it done and they get it done quick and they get it done well. Next, really quick, just quickly explaining the confirmation with the SS here. So basically what happened was we had an IA meeting on Sunday. I'm going to say this very quickly because it's a waste of time if you're going to miss this year. We had an IA meeting on Sunday at 8 o'clock. Walters was not there. Therefore, at that point, he had 6 absences. So within the bylaws, he had 48 hours to appeal that absence, which would have been 8 p.m. tonight. So we did not receive an official resignation notice until 5:45 p.m. I'm sorry, I'm not looking at my phone 24/7. I was busy getting ready for this meeting / finishing up for my job at my church. So that's really on him. And I hate to say that, we're friends, but and it's a disservice to you as well. If I wish that I would have been able to communicate that in the future. I'm a huge communicating push person. I would much rather tell you what's going to happen so that we have people that are prepared and we're not taking shortcuts than have to tell you something in the last minute. So I apologize to Carlson and Miller for having to prepare at the very last minute, but I appreciate your effort and the fact that you did it anyway. Quickly, just briefly, I am going to send out an email to Dr. Young and Dr. Hussey, and I hope that Brayden Kennedy, Kyle Kelly, Benigno, myself, Aaron, and Aubrey, and Austin will all go and talk about that 10% and just questions and set up a meeting with them. And I am happy to forward you any notes that I've taken from that meeting so that we can all be informed, as well as send that to the LA chair so that when you guys meet, hopefully not at Wednesday at 7 p.m., you will have that to talk about. And hopefully it'll be before then, but we will do as much as we can. And hopefully deliver that resolution to Dr. Hussey that we passed for him tonight when we have that meeting. Next, just really quickly, just want to say that the session isn't over. We still have 2 meetings left. We have the 22nd and the 29th. That's ample time for us to work to get things done, like the 10% bill. That doesn't mean it's time to be lazy, and that doesn't mean it's time to get disrespectful. Although with what Chris Woolsey brought forward, and many of your minds might have been controversial, he's still a guest and he needs to be treated as such. So that doesn't mean throwing around your placard like it's, flat mob. So please be respectful, even if it's against your own opinion. That's what makes this place great. I just encourage you to, in the future, if you have questions like that, make them an informative question, not persuasive. The time of Q&A is to persuade others one way or the other. That's the time for debate, and it was a first reading. So informative questions are always good. If you have a question about what's the statute, this, that's 100% acceptable. But please, in the future, remember that. Next, just really quickly, I'm just really proud of this session and everything we've done so far. Like, as far as in the past, this session's made a huge difference with things on campus, and I'm so excited for you guys next year to continue that forward. So I hope we continue with everything that we're doing in these last 2 weeks. And finally, to get you guys to show up to 29th, to the 29th joint session, I have a huge surprise for y'all, for each and every single one of you. So please show up, because I don't want extra of them, because there'll be hundreds of these things, which I'm not going to tell you, because it's a surprise, at my house sitting there, and no, it's not corgi puppies, although I wish. But anyway, and then finally, since you guys might be out of it, the DPSA search is coming to a close, like Kyle said. Both are extremely great candidates. If you didn't have a chance to meet with them, I promise you, whichever one, who knows if it's young or hussy at this point, picks, they're going to be great. And so I encourage the 68 to work hand in hand with them and get to know them as soon as they're picked into that seat. And then finally, just want to say thank you, Kyle, for showing up. And I know we've got a couple left, but thank you for giving the informative talk with everything, even if that means sometimes you blame on yourself and sometimes you blame on us. We just need to be honest and respectful with everything that's going on. Even that means I screw up, even that means he screws up. Like, we just want to be honest and make sure that we get something done and done efficiently. And with that being said, like, don't take shortcuts anymore. Like, let's get the rules done. I'm sure Aaron wants to deliver the rules the way that they're written and the way that they're meant to be. So let's, even though there's 2 weeks left, come on, I've got seniorized path, let's just make it happen, be respectful, and get something really great done in 2 weeks. Because I know if we go have that conversation with him, there can be something that's great sent to the legislature. So I encourage you, if you're interested in coming to that talk, shoot me an email or come to me afterwards, and I'll try and see if perhaps we can bring them down here and see if we can have them have a special presentation, perhaps, in our last meeting, see if that can be done. But that being said, amazingly enough, I still have time left, so I'm going to end it. And if you have any questions for me, I'll do that. No.
Senator Bill off campus. I kind of, like you said, we talked about with Woolsey today, being respectful towards him. How should we go about as a group in building new business on in your personal opinion, on judging whether or not we should send it to committee? Because I know we've had certain bills that have that would have had bad perception on the city. How do you advise we kind of make a judgment on that?
So just to make this clear, and I'm sure Aaron and Carlos would harp on this as well, the committee process is meant to kind of be the revising session. Take the new business as a rough draft. You wouldn't go turn in a rough draft to your professor, before editing it and really thinking it through. And sometimes that means changing the entire thesis. Sometimes that means changing the intro to the conclusion. And so the committee process isn't necessarily saying, if we send this to committee, it's going to happen. No, that's not the case. You have the right to fail it or pass it in the end. But it's meant to be a time to really think it through and say, okay, what is this bill saying? How can we make it better? What do we need to fix? And should we do anything with it at all? Because that is an option that you do have. I think in the case of certain bills being put forward that you find dangerous to the university or the body, because that is our mission to serve students, if you find that a context of a bill inhibits you from doing that to the best of your abilities, then you have every right to ask questions. Unfortunately, there is no debate process unless you move to postpone indefinitely. That's always in order, depending on what time we are in the meeting, like not in the middle of me talking or something else. But postponing something is always in order, and that gives you opportunity to debate, not necessarily while questioning a guest, because debate is between us as a body and not the guest. And so, yeah, that's how you kind of decide. You have the right to kill a bill, not the movie, kill a bill, if you want to. But I just encourage you, if you're going to do that, really think it through and use the time to have intellectual discussion through that debate if you want to postpone it. Miriam, I saw you next.
Madam Speaker, Senator Maroff, Engineering. I I was just curious, so is Senator Walter still a member of this body, or?
No, he is not. He resigned his official position as the chair and his membership as the body. I'm speaking quorum, not 39, so not 40. Okay, any other questions? Seeing none, move into closing roll call done by Pro Tem Mitchell.
Rules and Regulations, Chair Mitchell. Mr. Pete Kelly.
Howdy.
Chief Justice Cooper. I don't know what to do there. Speaker Reader. Pro Tem Cleveland. Myself. Chair Sonka.
Howdy.
Chair Feldman. Chair Springer. Chair Walter. Chair Carlson. Chair G.
Howdy.
Chair Sosa. Senator Gordon. Senator Boney. Senator Allen.
Howdy.
Senator Walker.
Howdy.
Senator Broderick. Senator French. Senator Broach.
Howdy.
Senator Smith.
Howdy.
Senator Stanford. Senator Allen. Senator Landry.
Howdy.
Senator Balsamo.
Howdy.
Senator Nichols.
Howdy.
Senator De Leon. Senator Eric. Senator Henderson.
Howdy.
Senator Parker. Senator Marinoff.
Howdy.
Senator Lambert. Senator Walsh.
Howdy.
Senator Thornburg. Senator Lapine. Senator Valentin. Senator Edebat. Senator Kupiar. How do you say it?
Ebedat.
Ebedat. Did I say Edebat? No, I said it backwards. I'm sorry. Senator Jones. Senator Day. Senator Rodker. Senator Humble. Senator Golden. Senator Shelton. Senator Flores. Senator Luna. Senator Dewberry. Senator Gill. Senator Blackman. Senator Loving. Senator Strawson. Senator Cantwell. Senator Roch. Senator Carter. Senator Dean.
Howdy.
Senator McNair. Senator Collins. Senator Pugh. Senator Giles. Senator Finney. Senator Staffen. Senator Brian Brown. Senator Hood. Senator Hemphill. Senator Luce. Senator Miller. Senator Ives. Senator Murphy. Senator Parks.
Howdy.
Senator Mendoza. Senator Russi. Senator Cuevas. Senator Hutton.
Howdy.
Senator Rose. Senator Hendricks. Senator
Hey,
Cook.
so we're done.
Senator Greminger. Senator Bosworth. Senator Greer. Senator Patel. Senator Polakaitis.
Howdy.
Senator Adeyemi. All right.
If you're interested in coming, I'm gonna get your name.
Incoming the what?
The meeting, if you have 50 names, I'm just gonna request them. You. What do you give your letter?
Wait, what meeting is you talking about?
Yeah.
How many ballots?
Roswell, I don't work on the
Yeah, I overheard it.
Yeah, it is. It's not even about feelings. It's, if someone catches Matt G, his charger's still here. So.
I might.
But if we don't want to offend anyone, I don't care about it.